What up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back. Welcome. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Welcome. We got to recap and have this same conversation today that we had yesterday for two reasons. Reason number one, I posted this live on the wrong YouTube page yesterday. And this is why the YouTube numbers were the number of people on YouTube that was here were the ones that was here because it was on the wrong YouTube page. So for most of my YouTube people, this is going to be their first time on my other channel. Where the YouTube people, if you're coming from my other YouTube channel, I don't normally post this type of content on that particular channel. That channel is just for relationships and stuff. So we got to redo this. Now, we also going to redo this because we didn't talk about this subject matter hardly at all yesterday. Everybody wanted to get into this whole African, Black American conversation. And I know how that came about, but we're not doing that today. Damn it, we're staying on subject. So if you're not here to talk about the subject matter, your conversation is going to be very, very short. Just putting the link out there for Facebook and YouTube. Before we get too deep into it, I want to thank everybody who has joined the channel. Anyway, I did something that I shouldn't have done, so I'm gonna have to repeat it today. I want to thank everybody who supports the channel, everybody who through gifts, through sharing, through following. If you do a super chat on YouTube, that super chat is definitely going to get read. I want to thank everybody who is a member, subscription holder. Thank you for being on the channel. Greatly appreciate it. You know what? I'm not going to do the thing I did yesterday. I'll just make a video about that. Let's do a separate video about it. And TikTok trying to get started early. Maybe, possibly. Let's see. I haven't even made any statements yet, but we're going to go ahead and start out. Hot dog. What's your name?
What's going on?
Not much, man. Are you over 21?
I wanted to throw up.
Are you?
Do you know
are you over 21?
Yes.
Okay.
24.
All right. Are you a believer in the Bible?
No.
Okay. So what is it that you wanted to say?
I was curious if you're aware of Seneca the Younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about him?
Yeah. I was just curious. I didn't see that one up there. I usually see those ones up there.
Oh, well, there's just too many. So I try to give a range because I could fill this up with just writers and historians.
Yeah.
That shows that the Jesus character never existed.
Or Paul.
Yeah. Or Paul. Yeah. Yeah. Paul never existed. Yeah.
Dang. Now, I was just saying, on that one up there. No, what were you going to say?
I have often thought, and this is just speculation, that Paul was an op. That he's a name that was utilized by people sending out disinformation to try to break up, or not break up, but to soften the Jewish people because they kept revolting. So, and this is just a speculation, that Vespasian commissioned people like Philo or Josephus to falsify these letters and create this story so that they can make a more passive version of Judaism.
Yes.
Because, Vespasian was known to, when he conquered the Druids, he went after their story. And that's how he was able to defeat them. So, military people military business, people have a tendency to do the same thing until it don't work. So there's a part of me, there's no evidence, just speculation, that Paul was an op.
No, I've seen some saying that exact thing. Similarly, that Josephus, that even if you look at the trip that Paul took, that it's basically a reverse trip. He was shipwrecked and everything like that, just like Josephus was. It was literally a reverse trip, attributed to this guy named Paul that really is actually based on the journeys of Josephus. And this, Apollonius,
Yeah, Apollonius of Tyana.
Yeah, I heard that is also where the name even Paul comes from. Like it's a derivative of the Apollonius kind of, and the idea of Jesus even comes after Paul.
Yes.
So they didn't even have it really down yet, but they did have this idea of Paul down, which is just crazy.
And you know, Paul is not even a name. Paul is a title. It means small one. And I forgot what writing it was where they utilized the term Paul to mean the small one. I mean, almost like dwarf, midget kind of terminology when mentioning Paul. And have you ever read the Bacchae?
Oh, I have not. What is that?
So the Bacchae is a story involving Dionysus. Is it? Yeah, Dionysus. Yeah, Dionysus. And it has a similar vibe. Now, this story was popular for 300 years. It was written like a long time ago, but popular for 300 years at least. And it's the story of a god, a wandering Messiah type God who turns water into wine, have 12 followers, all this sort of, died and reborn. But there's a king who's oppressing his followers. And he comes to that king in disguise and asks him, why are you oppressing my people? Convinces him to stop oppressing his people and convert over to the worship of Dionysus. And that just sounds so much like the Paulinian story.
I heard that, and you said that's the Bacchae.
Yeah. Well, the Bacchae.
Okay. The Bacchae. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't think Paul existed.
Me either. There's just no proof.
Nope.
I hear it's all based on John the Baptist. My favorite part is people be like, Jesus was perfect. I'm like, Jesus was baptized.
Right. Why does a perfect being need to be baptized?
Yeah.
So it makes no sense.
Dang. Yeah. Much love, man. Take care.
Right. Appreciate you.
Yep, absolutely.
Have a good one. Yeah. Paul is that's just speculation, but that's what I'm gonna say. Eric and Anna. Am I talking to Eric or am I talking to Anna? Eric and Anna.
Hello?
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you over 18? I mean, over 21?
Yes. Yeah, I'm over 21.
All right. And are you a believer in the Bible?
Yeah, I'm believing. Yeah, yes.
All right. So what is your proof that Jesus existed?
What is my proof that Jesus existed?
Yeah, what's your evidence?
What I found is, man, after applying faith in God.
That's not proof.
Let me explain.
Nope.
Let me explain, sir.
I'm not letting anybody explain faith or experiences, emotions. No. What's your evidence? Those things are not evidence.
I was trying to get to that. You not letting me explain.
Well, you started with the whole thing that leads into faith and experience. By applying, I can apply the Buddhist. I applied the Buddhist principles, and my life is nicer, is better. That doesn't mean that Siddhartha Gautama is real.
Right, I get it.
So I need proof.
That was my only evidence, man. Like,
that's not evidence. Okay, well, that's not evidence. And you say you was getting the evidence, so you lied.
What do you mean?
You lied. After I said that we don't do experiences, we don't do faith and all that sort of thing, now you're saying that that was your evidence, but you said that that wasn't your evidence.
Yeah, so if you let me elaborate, maybe you might come to understand.
Is your evidence based on anything that's provable evidence, or is it just your faith and experience?
If I can explain, maybe we can come to some kind of understanding.
No, I need to answer that question, because if it involves only faith and experience, then it's not evidence. And I don't waste that time.
I found correlations, bro, because I found awareness of God's purpose before I ever read.
Yeah. See how we do that? It's too hot in Texas right now for me to waste my time talking about somebody's experiences. I know Buddhist people who have experiences. Hindu people have experiences. All these people have experiences. I applied the practice. If you were to apply the Eightfold Path to your life from Buddhism, you're going to have a more peaceful life. You're going to live in such a way that, you know, life seems better. If you apply the principles of Taoism, your experiences are going to be better. And what wasn't cool, Eric, was the fact that I asked you for evidence. I told you we don't do faith and all that kind of stuff. You said that that was all you had, and then you still try to go back into it. What's not cool is you being dishonest. You're not supposed to lie in your religion. You're not supposed to lie. But you lied, and I did let you get a sentence out because that's how I know you were lying. Because I said we don't do faith and experience. Oh, well, that's all I got is faith and experience because when I applied these principles, and you said that's it. So, and then you try to say, but I do have evidence. I explained to you what evidence was. I do have evidence. And then you went right back to the whole, I applied these principles. You lied. You have emotional damage. And see, he still don't see. That's the sad part. He don't even realize he lied. He said that that was all the evidence he had was his experience and stuff. I told him that experience and stuff is not evidence. Then he goes back and said that my evidence is, and he goes back into the experience stuff. He don't even realize. Ain't that sad when they lie and don't even realize that they lie? That's just sad. Sad. So I'm gonna say again, let me preface everything. If your evidence is your emotional damage, is your experiences, that is not evidence. So what's your evidence of Jesus? Jesus. That's what we want. 225. Are you over 21?
Yes.
Are you a believer in Jesus?
I was.
Okay. What made you walk away from Jesus?
I just couldn't deal with the stories, bro. I wanted to know how all of those animals got on the ark and survived.
It would be impossible for them to do it.
I wanted to know how the fuck a polar bear came from the Antarctic to get on the damn boat.
I know he would have died.
He would have died.
The heat.
He couldn't even deal with the heat conditions.
Mm-mm.
So I want to know how a koala bear got on there.
They would have drowned.
Okay, I mean, we got 7 continents and one little bitty boat, and we want all those animals on there. How did you do that?
That appeal to magic. Magic.
Yeah, and I asked all my Christian friends, my church friends, you know, that believe in Jesus. I'm like, bro, I said, out of all of that, where did the water go?
Where did the what go?
Where did the water go?
No. It went back into the earth.
I mean, he left in Jerusalem, and the boat sails for 40 days and 40 nights and ends up back in the same place.
Without an anchor, that is not going to happen.
Without no guide, no nothing, just floating around. So, you know, that's when I started deconstructing. I'm not fully deconstructed yet, but I'm working on it and just gathering more information and helping others as I go.
What part of it have you not deconstructed from?
I grew up in church all my life. So the connection with going to church on Sunday and being with the people that I knew, that's the part that's bothered me a lot. Not a lot, but I mean, I get up in I'm like, oh, I'm going to church today. You know, and when I get there, it's like, why am I in here?
No, I understand that one. I had that. I had to go through the social disconnect as well because you've been doing something for for me it was I had been doing this thing for 20, 30 years, and now I'm supposed to just stop it. But now going to church had become part of my hypnotic rhythm. Like without even thinking about it, I just went and did, and just went and did, and I would be sitting there taking notes on what pastor said. That's wrong. Pastor said what? That's wrong. Oh, this person over here speaking in tongues. I don't see no interpreter. That's wrong.
Yeah.
When it's like I have just wasted 3 hours of my life being in here.
Across a dude that when he gave me a scripture about when God said, "Kill everything in the city, but keep the whores for yourself." Why would he want to keep hoes?
I ain't never heard the horror part. Now I know.
Yeah.
I know there's. Yeah. I know he said keep the girls who haven't known a man and make them the wives.
I guess that was the same context, but he said keep them for yourself, and I'm like, why would he do that? And then another dude that was deconstructing, he said, that the devil is so bad, name one person he killed.
Yeah, on his own.
On his own, name one person that he killed. But you can count numbers of thousands that God killed himself.
Shit, millions.
Or about to be killed.
The flood alone would be millions of people.
Oh, yeah.
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 The devil never kills anybody. And here's the thing about it. The devil, which don't exist, but in accordance to the story, the Satan is not the devil. The devil of the New Testament is not the Satan of the Old Testament. The Satan is just a title, a job that is handed out to an individual angelic being to go do a task. And the Satan only does whatever this God tells that Satan to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Satan came to Job, he was only doing the job that Yahweh gave him. When the Satan came to Balaam, he was only doing the job that this guy told him to do.
Right.
But it is the mixing of Persian ideas and Greek ideas that by the time you get into around 1st century BCE, Judaism, you start getting a devil.
Mm-hmm.
And then, into the New Testament, then you get this devil.
I just had so many questions, when I was first awakened to it,
Mm-hmm.
If the devil was thrown out of heaven, why was he allowed to go back?
That was one that intrigued me when I was younger. Because that's when I was believing that the Satan and the devil were the same being, and I was like, but he got thrown out of heaven. So I searched the Bible. On one of my reads of the Bible was to find this whole war in heaven story, and I found out that it's not in the Bible at all. That comes from the book of Enoch, which is not considered authoritative, but it is quoted by other books that are considered authoritative. So there is no war in heaven except for the version that's in Revelation, which supposedly, if you're a Bible believer, hasn't happened yet. So that idea makes sense.
It just brought to mind a lot of questions about a lot of different things, that happen. If the first thing that I experienced was trying to define free will. If free will is free will, then you would not punish me for my decision that I make.
That's exactly right. Free will, you can't have coercion with free will. And
it's free will. You can choose God. If you choose God, you go to heaven. But if you don't choose him, you go to hell. So why does my choice why does my choice have to be punishable by anything? You said it's free will.
Yeah, that's not free will.
That is not free will.
Mm-mm.
Is it truly free will? If he said he know from the beginning to the end, so is it truly free will?
Nope.
You know all of it.
It's not. No free will whatsoever. That's predestination, and that's an ultimatum. So it doesn't fit.
No, it does not. In the context of, Christendom.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a family full of Christians, and that's all I was taught. I was raised apostolic, actually.
Okay.
But now it's like, man, I don't waste all this time believing this thing that really didn't even exist. And another thing, my bro, okay, we read the Hebrew Bible. Why do folks' names are American names?
Yeah.
If they were from another country.
Well, don't get too caught up on that part. That part is just simple translations for the most part.
Yeah, but it was just about, like, what kind of message today?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been enjoying my journey so far, and I've been getting a lot of information and knowledge from other people, and through their experiences that's helping me.
I'm with you. I'm glad that you are. And if you can get help from this channel, that'd be great. Yeah.
I have. I've listened to you several times.
Oh, okay. Appreciate that.
I have. I've gone back to some of your videos and actually listened to them.
Okay. And then just research all of them afterwards, to make sure that I'm not giving you a bunch of bullshit.
Right. Yeah. You and another guy I've been following, and it's been very helpful.
Cool.
Good.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Well, I got to get back to work.
All right.
It was good talking with you.
Good talking to you too.
All right.
Did you just say God bless you?
Well, in the context of universe.
Okay.
The universe.
Good energy, man. Good energy. Good vibrations. All right. It's but it's hard to get some of those words out your mouth. Like somebody sneeze, you have a tendency to say bless you. It's hard to get that all that contamination out of it. It's not the easiest thing to deal with. It takes time. We all get into this thing that Hill called hypnotic rhythm. And we just continue to do the same things over and over again without even thinking about it. I still kept going to church because it was the thing that I was accustomed to doing. Empress.
Hey, greetings, brothers. I had just wanted to elaborate on some things I was talking about earlier in the conversation about free will.
Okay, wait. Are you over 21?
I don't know if you guys had checked out.
Let me tell. Wait. Are you over 21?
Oh, go ahead.
Are you over 21?
Yes, of course I am.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
You're welcome. And so on Jasmine's platform, she had this to be Christians versus herself and her own philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
When I took down a few notes because I think that these are key things that people absolutely disregard. It's so important that it's paid attention to, and it goes back to that free will. The brother on here was talking about if we have free will, then why do we get punished? That was kind of one of the questions or something that stood out in Jasmine's on her platform. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I looked at a few scriptures to kind of give their biblical aspect or point of view from it. And there's a few scriptures that kind of point out the contradictory in the so-called God, because Ezekiel 28 says that wickedness is found in you. So if wickedness is found in anything in this world, who is the creator so-called supposedly out of everything? Because whoever is the ultimate creator is also the ultimate creator of wickedness. That is factual. There is nothing else to hold accountable for what Ezekiel specifies in chapter 28:15, verse 12 through 15. And also, we go into if God makes no mistakes, if the Bible can say in certain scriptures like in Deuteronomy 32, verse 4. If work is defined as perfect, okay, this is coming from Moses. And so if Moses also is testifying yet again that he is depicting God the Creator as being perfect in all ways and complete sound without blemish, therefore God must be responsible for whatever Satan is or has done, because only wickedness can come from a creator. So either God put the creation in Satan to become wicked, because how else can the wickedness manifest if God is the creator of every single thing in the world, even perfect angels? The perfect angels that you created wickedness in them.
Yep.
And you pretended that free will was an option. But if we go into the scriptures, to be honest, or not into the scriptures, but into other texts, there is other text that says that Satan didn't even, he'd rather have been down here in what he considered hell versus bowing down and always being a servant to God. And so what is servitude? Servitude is not freedom.
Well, it's not.
Servitude is not freedom. That is absolutely the opposite of freedom. And then why would God be jealous of anything? That's contradicting. Because even if you look at the text, and the text says that God is a jealous God, why would jealous even exist in such a creator of all things? Because jealousy on a physical level is a complex emotion triggered by fear of losing something.
Yep.
So if that definition does not link to the God that is jealous, then we're talking about the jealousy of God that is righteous, protective, and zeal for what is perfectly righteously his. Would that still not be considered losing something that belongs to you?
Yeah.
So therefore, is God truly perfect if there's a such thing as jealousy, when the same Bible prohibits us from being jealous and being malice and envious and all of these things, but yet and still the creator of all things have put these in us and then dared us to do it.
Yep. You're supposed to be better than him.
Sense.
It can't. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Yeah. You have to be better than the God himself. That's why I always say I'm better than the God of the Bible.
Of course. Common sense.
Yes. It seems like that God doesn't have none of that.
No, didn't have remorse, didn't have empathy. Because just like y'all specified doing a brother that was up there, that you can say Satan is an adversary, he's mean, he's this and he's that, but there has never been any indication or inclination that Satan committed any crimes. But yet, through the first and second parts of the Bible testaments, God has taken out generations with no remorse, with no empathy.
No, he just regrets making man. Like
Exactly.
the only regret he has is what he did, not killing the man, but the fact that he made man. He had regret.
As the Bible said, let's make man in our image. Our in that term is plural.
Yes, that is the Elohim. Yeah, and that's a plurality of gods. And he's
Right.
talking about the
Which is,
heavenly council, which he talks about multiple times throughout the Bible. This heavenly council.
so what I get from these things is either A, the creator of all things made things specifically. Of course, we know specifically for certain things, but you absolutely says that you are going to say that I'm able to walk away, do whatever I please, because you put it in me to have these ways. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist if you didn't put them in me. And then you tell me it's free will if you do it, but then if you do it, you're going to a hell. What is hell? Because Satan already said that this is hell. And he'd rather go to hell than to serve or to be a servant of you. So if people saying I don't want to go to hell, well, technically you already here.
Yeah.
Because if the Bible say woe unto the earth, where else is Other than inside the earth is the core of hot, heated metal, lava. I mean,
Right.
metal, you feel? So where you going?
Yeah.
To the core of the earth.
Because I'm with you. That Enochian story says that when they were cast out to earth as they prison, not to some underworld.
And what is earth if we look at it in this physical form? Is it not an indication of death? Everything on earth dies.
Yes, it does. Well, yeah.
And isn't it born again?
Yep. It just
This is the
transmutes.
planet of death. This is the planet of death and rebirth. Science has not proven any other planet to be a planet of death and rebirth as Earth.
Yeah, we haven't found another one. I'm sure there's some out there, but we haven't found
In
it
some
yet.
other galaxy.
Yeah.
In some other galaxy.
Yeah, we haven't found it yet, but it is out there. But yeah, but you're right that this is just energy transmuting from one form to another form. Life and death is just as a cycle. You know, the Lion King said it best, in my opinion. It's a cycle of life, and that's just how it works.
How long that movie came out? We were children. That movie came out, and we had no idea about the importance of that movie because we weren't listening to subliminal messages. We had no knowledge that as a child of these things.
I'm gonna date
It's
myself.
not embedded in us to be that knowledgeable about that. We just wanted the cartoon because we liked it.
I'm gonna date myself. I was a grown man in the Marine Corps, married, not traveled, living in Europe when that came out.
You know, so just imagine how the world was looking at that. If you want, like this is a real, this is real. Like that story is reality, but it's made in such a cartoon format as if it's unreal, as if it's not existing today.
Yeah.
Science has continuously proven how evolution began on one particular continent and how it migrated. We don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, and they mistakenly think that we're saying that evolution is how everything started, but it's not. It's just showing the process of how species develop, and that's it. That's all it's showing.
Yes, that's it.
And it's factual.
That's it, factual.
Yeah.
You can go outside and look at it yourself. You don't need nobody to teach you that.
You know, I was watching a documentary. You may find it interesting. I can't remember. I'm gonna try to remember what it is. I'm sure my wife is gonna put it on the screen at some point.
Everybody don't serve the same God. There's
Yeah.
somebody in your comments talking about free will, willing to do your Lord God's will. See, what you don't understand,
It ain't free will.
sir, or overstand is that there are many gods, whether you want to claim it or not.
Yeah.
Unmelanated people don't have to claim many gods. It's a part of your DNA makeup.
So what I was saying, there's a documentary about sea life, and just in that documentary, they weren't trying to do this, but they did it anyway. But they showed where there's a fish called a frogfish. So you can just research frogfish. Some frogfish have evolved to basically walk across the bottom of the seafloor. And they don't even have the ability to swim anymore. Where others of their species who live in a different environment, they still swim. And they show sharks that have done the same thing. There are sharks that walk instead of swimming.
Dolphins.
And so these creatures develop, so we can see just through our modern day eyes how the probability of how life came from the sea and started walking on land.
Of course, and how some sea animals are that used to be land animals.
Mhm.
Says science.
Yep.
Because again, this is what evolution does to us. We change. Change is inevitable, as we all
Mhm.
specified. And so this is a part of adaptation.
Yeah.
This evolution.
And exactly that, and that's what evolution shows us, is the adaptations. But I appreciate you coming up here because you just cooked, and I
Yes,
really ain't got.
appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah. We can't even argue because I'm with you.
100%, brother.
All
I
right.
appreciate the love.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you, Empress. I ain't even nothing to argue. I think Sean 11 was next. Sean, are you over 21?
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Are you over 21?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm 51.
All right.
I mean, I think that a a lot of misinterpretations, and over the period of time, that the original contents have been taken out of contents, and it's created a legalistic, dogmatic religious system. And I think that's part of the problem. And in my opinion, I don't think that we have free will. Now, this is what I understand, and it never came into modern religious beliefs. We have a choice. Things are choices of what the outcomes are and how we choose to align ourselves with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's part of the problem is word manipulation and legalism and dogmatic systems that have taken away your understanding of things and put legalism in it and use the system as a form of corruption for control.
Okay. So are you saying that we don't have free will, but we just have choice?
We have choice. I mean, if everybody had free will, it would be very confusing. It's
Right.
basically
But
going
we
from, you know, I'm sorry.
but we have a coerced choice when it comes to the Bible.
We have a choice. I mean, it's a matter of what you choose.
Well, it's
That
coercion.
determines the outcome.
It's still coercion,
Okay.
though. You still are faced with your choice is love me or burn for eternity in fire.
Well, that's the legalism and dogmatic that's manipulated into a legalistic, corrupt system. And you have to go back to the origin of what certain words mean to get away from the dogmatic, legalistic, imperial, religious belief systems.
Okay, so what does it
King
mean?
James.
In plain English, what does it mean? What does this choice mean?
The choice. It's like if you, let's say, predestined. Let's say that you have a path that the Father wanted you to have. But like you, like me, I want my kids to do this, you know, in the hopes that they'll make the decisions that would lead to that.
Right.
But if I made choices that led me away from that, that was my choice.
Okay. But if your children choose something that you did not want for them, are they punished?
No, you're not punished. I will support them just because I don't agree with the choices they make.
Right. Could they actually have a better life than you if they make the, like, let's say you had the, okay, I had the choice of staying in college, well, transferring to another college or going to the Marine Corps. I made my choice to go to the Marine Corps.
I think there's a difference between moral and ethical choices that you're trying to lead them than versus trying to control the destination or what you want them to be and setting your expectations.
Well, so
That's
this guy, according to the Bible, this God is setting an expectation of either if you love me, follow my rules, you get to go and live in heaven with me and praise me all the time. If you don't, you burn in this eternal fire.
That's why I've gone past of legalism systems like the King James, imperial, like the Roman Empire, in various stages.
In plain English, if I choose not to love and follow this guy's rules, what happens?
I think it's a moral foundation. Would you not say the 10 Commandments? Let's just say, take away that it's the way that, and if you look at the similarities versus the difference in belief systems, they all have the same fundamental foundation.
You're not answering the question,
respect.
man. You're doing a lot of word salad here. I'm asking a very simple question.
I'm sorry, I apologize if you think that, but I think it's a foundation, that there's a foundational
What
principles.
happens if I choose not to follow this guy's commandments and love this God? What happens when I die?
I think if you're in line with actually who the Father is, not interpretation of religion, that you find who God is. And it doesn't have to be the same as what one belief system believes the picture of him is and versus the other. That's the reason why religion has placed us in the shape we're in.
So if I don't believe in this God, but I'm a good person, are you saying that I'm going to find God?
I think also like this, the misinterpretation is why if it has to be cut and dry that you have to accept Christ. Why would you have a judgment day? It's not cut and dry like the religious dogmatic belief system.
So
I think
in plain English, what is it?
Love.
All right. So
Love.
Then what happens when I die?
Convicted to hell. That's why there's judgment day.
So I don't go to hell. Does anybody go to hell?
I think the deceivers are the ones that go to hell, not the ones that are deceived. Don't you think that there's people that give misinformation that have changed and altered things over the period of time?
There's people who give misinformation, but hell don't exist. There is no hell. So even if you were a mass murderer, a child abuser, you die, you still not going to hell. You ain't going to heaven, but you ain't going to hell because neither one of them exists. You just cease to
Maybe
exist.
it's the existence without the Father, without love. Maybe you do. Maybe you just disappear. Maybe that is the consequences of it. That you don't get the gifts of returning and living a life of righteousness and living it with the Father. Maybe that's the choice. Maybe that's the consequence.
What is this? How is I don't what's the gift? What's living with this God? Because no description in the Bible shows that living with this God is a gift. That's it's servitude if you are the way the Bible describes it.
I don't think the Father never came to be served. He came to be a willingness to choose to not. It's not even about worship. It's being the example.
No, it literally says serve this God and worship this God. You're supposed to serve him and worship.
That's word misinformation. He came to be the example, just like Buddha, Hindu, all these various things were examples of how to be.
So you're saying Jesus came to be the example?
Be an example to follow.
So the example I should follow is that if there's a woman who needs my services, but she's not part of my ethnic group, I can call her a dog.
Where in the book does it say that he went around dogging out people?
Matthew 15, I believe, is where Jesus and the Canaanite woman, and he tells the Canaanite woman that he only came for the children of Israel, and that it is not good for him to give the bread to the children, give the bread of the children to the dogs. And then when the woman said, okay, but even the dogs, accepting that she is a dog, eats the crumbs from her master's table, then he said, okay, you got good faith. You recognize you're a dog. So, hey, I'll go ahead and heal your daughter.
I don't know. I've never heard it exactly like what you're saying. I think you're interpreting it maybe possibly that way.
No, that's what the words say. He called her a dog.
Why did he go to the well and have it that those outsides as being adulterous or that he went and he washed her feet at the well and told her to go be an example of the misperception that they put and who it's did. And
See,
also
this is what you can't do, I don't allow on my channel. I talked about a specific portion of the Bible where Jesus shows his personality of calling this Canaanite woman a dog. We can't then say, oh yeah, well but then he treated this person better. All right. I might treat this person better. That doesn't mean I'm excused for how I treated the other person. So I'm talking about how he treated this Canaanite woman.
Would you want, let's just say that example of that is would you want to hang around like-minded people that have the same motives that you have and not want to be around people that want to constantly argue their points and be controlling of what they think that you should do.
Apples and oranges. I'm talking about how he treated this Canaanite woman, and you're saying that Jesus was supposed to be the example, but he treated this Canaanite woman very poorly and in what we would today call racism. And their time frame, it was ethnocentrism. So why would I want to look at the model of a person who treated someone that way?
Well, all I can say is I've seen many examples of love, and I've seen examples of where when he flipped the table over at the Pharisees and discussed about what they were doing at that time, legalism, making laws that were never meant to be laws.
Why you don't want to talk about the Canaanite woman?
Well, because I would like to go in my book, not the book that you're reading or you say you're reading in front of it, and not only go by your interpretation, because there has to be a narrative before and after that would give a deep perspective on the picture. Because sometimes that's what we do. We can cherry pick things into giving off what we perceive it as being, but not give the events before and after to give the whole clear picture.
Well, in this version, in this story, there are the events before it has absolutely nothing to do with the Canaanite woman. The events before it is the
King James.
Oh hell no! That's the worst damn version of the Bible you can.
Yeah, so what version are you reading?
New Revised Standard Updated Edition.
Okay. So just like once again, that many things over the period of time through the language and misleading and misinformation, that things can get perceived to be differently. That's not actually in line with what originally the text was saying.
This is the most correct version that is outright that we have right now. And before that, I'm sorry, what was that?
Read the Ethiopian canon. It's been a well-preserved book.
No, I don't read Giez. And unless you are reading it in Ge'ez, you are not reading the Ethiopian Bible. What you are reading is people who have identified the books that are in that one, but they are using translations based on Greek and Latin and German and all these other versions of it. The Ge'ez has never been translated in any other language but Ge'ez.
So then you could say that about the book that you're reading from then too. Does it go back to the origin?
Yeah, it goes back to Koine for the New Testament. For this part about the Canaanite woman, it goes back to the Koine Greek.
The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, correct?
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
Hebrew and Proto-Hebrew.
I mean, so it's just like repentance. I mean, it was never.
But again, Sean. In this story about the Canaanite woman, what comes before that is about the Pharisees talking to Jesus about how his disciples aren't following all the rules. And then it jumps to the Canaanite woman. It literally says, starts out with Jesus left that place and went to the district of Tyre and Sidon. So this ain't got nothing to do with what happened beforehand. And he's saying, just then a Canaanite woman from the region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." He answered, "I was sent only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs," calling her a dog. She said, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the dogs," accepting that she's a dog, "eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, after she's accepted she's a dog, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done as you have wished." And her daughter was healed from that moment. It's just a passage that's thrown in there.
So, but her daughter was healed.
Yeah, after she accepted that she was a dog.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you have to face the reality of what you are before you can change it?
Oh,
Maybe it's a parable of maybe the person, the way they were and how they did and what they did in their life.
so it's acceptable for her to say that she's a dog. You don't.
His mercy still healed his daughter.
The only
He's still embracing love.
only reason this woman accepted that she was a dog is because she was a Canaanite, a different ethnic group.
You know where the Canaanite, you know where did the Canaanites come from, the Canaan blood?
Did the Canaanites come from? No, they did not.
So they did not come from Seth or
You talking about back then?
yeah.
According to the story, yeah, Canaanites came from Ham.
Yeah, which was the descendant of
No.
what is it? The descendant of Abraham's offbreed, correct?
No,
That wasn't exactly
No.
in line.
no.
But did Seth kill Abel? And then the
No.
bloodline came from Abel's
No.
blood, from
No.
Seth's bloodline?
No, you're saying that wrong. You're saying that wrong. Cain killed Abel. Then Seth was born. Noah comes from Seth's line. Seth had Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Ham had Canaan. According to the Bible, the Canaanites come from Ham's son Canaan.
Okay, and isn't it true that there's speaks of two different Enochs in the Bible, as well as Enoch, the son of Seth, and the city of Enoch that Seth named Enoch after his son?
No.
And then Enoch, there's an Enoch.
Yes and no. There are two Enochs, one from the line of Cain, the other one from the line of Seth. Cain's son, Cain named the city Enoch after his son Enoch.
And wasn't he a part of when they tried to make it happen with the pregnancy because they felt like we're too old to have children? So they introduced her to one of the serpents, which that bloodline came from. There's two bloodlines, correct?
No,
there is.
Listen.
Okay,
that's Abraham and Sarah, and then Sarah had him sleep with Hagar. Hagar had Ishmael, which is what the Muslims claim. And then he had Isaac. So it has nothing to do with Enoch or Cain.
Which bloodline did Enoch's bloodline initially come from? And then the city of Enoch, wasn't it the descendants?
That's Cain. The one that's Enoch that has the city named Enoch comes from Cain.
And then isn't there also in on the New Testament, there's another Cain in there, but it sounds singular, correct? And that came from Noah's bloodline, correct?
No, not to my knowledge. I don't know of a
Yeah,
Cain
yeah,
in the New Testament that comes from Noah's
is.
bloodline.
There is, because what had happened was is one of his descendants started going back and studying before the flood. He came across ancient texts that he started to study, and then his third generation or whatever came up with Babylon. And now, after 150 years of the flood, didn't Babylon start? And that was the knowledge of the forbidden knowledge that Noah, if he would have been told that he was studying the ancient knowledge, that Noah would have been upset with him, because they were strictly forbidding if any of that knowledge to be reinstated in studies.
What are you talking? There's no Cain in the New Testament.
It sounds just like it.
No,
yes, I promise you.
There's
this is where the two conflicting stories get mixed in together.
No, there's the mentioning of Cain in contrast when they're contrasting people, but there is no Cain in the New Testament.
I explain it like this. You know how sometimes names, if you say a names that sometimes they similarly sound alike, that you possibly can get one name mixed up with the other name until you've sat down enough to go, okay, the separation mentally has to be in your mind, right?
Where is that in the New Testament? Where is that in the New Testament? Who is this name?
Look up again in Google and say, were there two named Cains that sound similar in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament? I promise you, I learned this and it was very shocking to me. Thank you for being willing to do this. I appreciate it.
I gotta say, you're mixing up a lot of stuff together.
No, that's the thing that's happened is it's put it in a hodgepodge of mixture. But there was just like there's Enoch, and Enoch that had written Enoch is in the book of the canon, the Ethiopian canon was preserved, but he was of the original bloodline. And then you look at Enoch City, and the name of Enoch was the line that branched off from the original, from Adam to however it goes, Moses, or however that bloodline goes. That was the pure bloodline.
Yeah, but that's not the Enoch who was in Cain's line. That's the Enoch that's in Seth's line.
Yeah, after the flood.
No, that was before. That was before the flood. Before the flood.
It was after the flood that Enoch, the Enoch text was after the flood. That Enoch was.
No, there's no Enoch after the flood.
Yes, there's two Enochs in the Bible. I promise.
Yes, they are all both before the flood.
No, it's after. One is after and one is before. I know it's frustrating, bro.
It's frustrating because you're wrong and you're
wrong.
not. Well, if you go and hold on,
I was surprised of the same thing too, man.
No, there's nothing surprising about it.
There's Cain and Canaan. One is spelled with a K, one is spelled with a C, but there's two different time frames on the both of them.
You're talking about Canaan, who was spelled with a K,
right? And Cain was before.
And that person lived before Noah's flood, and that was of the line of Seth.
And one lived after.
And after, in the New Testament, you're talking about the son of Flaxad. I'm probably saying that wrong. The father of Shelah. Hold on. And this person is in Luke 3. Luke 3:36.
So it's two separate people, but it sounds so much that you can get the two of them confused.
I'm not confusing either one of them.
I said I did all these years until I started reading the Ethiopian canon and realized the distinguish between the two.
Hold on, man. Hold on. You can't be going on to other things.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
So in Luke 3, and I thought it was, but I just wanted to make sure. In Luke 3, The reason why you see a son of Cain, it's given the genealogy. This is in Luke's genealogy, which is different from Matthew's genealogy. And it only mentions son of Cain, son of Aphax, son of Shem, son of Noah. So this is a Cain that was just, who is still, although mentioned in the New Testament, it supposedly had lived in the Old Testament. And this is Canaan. This is a Canaan this is a Cain that's the son in the line of Shem. So, which leads to the Israelites.
Noah, right? Which is Noah.
Well, Shem goes back to
Bloodline.
Noah. Yeah, it's Noah's bloodline. So,
Noah was after the flood.
so you have a Cain that's after the flood, but he's only mentioned. The only mentioning of this person is just that he was the son of Aphaxad.
Okay, well, look under the Cain. Was there
That's
a
it.
Cain spelled that way before the flood?
Yeah.
And then there was a Cain.
Yes,
And there was one after.
there's a Cain before the flood. There's a Cain after the flood. One's in the line of Shem. The other one is just Cain, son of Adam. But and it's Canaan, not Cain.
Yeah, I know that's where one's one way and one's the
But
other way.
there's nothing about this Canaan, who's the son of Aphax, going back and reading some old stuff,
There-
gaining some knowledge.
Just like Enoch is the one that wrote not the Enoch that was before the flood, but after the flood.
Enoch didn't write a goddamn thing, because the book of Enoch never appeared and was written in the 2nd century BCE. So Enoch didn't write nothing.
I can pull up things at the same time as I'm expressing it, so you can see the difference.
Enoch, dude, we know
Enoch was written by Enoch.
Enoch. We
It is.
there is absolutely no indication that anybody before anything was written before around 700 BCE. Nobody wrote nothing before then. There's no writings by Moses. There's no writings by Noah. There's no writings by Shem. There's no writings by Cain. There's no writings by Enoch. They wrote nothing. All these stories weren't written.
After the flood, correct?
Well, yeah, 700 BCE is after the flood, but which Enoch comes long before the flood, and he didn't write anything.
Well, I guess, the Dead Sea Scrolls backed up the Ethiopian canon with the Jubilees and the Enoch that's closest to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Do you know about Jubilee? The book of Jubilee?
I don't care that the Ethiopian Bible, which wasn't even put together until 330 CE, 330. So 300 years after the Jesus story, you get this book of Enoch, first written. Before that, the Ethiopians worshiped multiple gods, and it was King Azana. And when he first had it put down, it was from a guy who was from Turkey, who was a Christian under the Bishop of Egypt, who instructed them on Christianity and put together their canon.
Isn't it that they brought
And it's not the oldest preserved book.
It's the oldest preserved in its fullest form.
No, I can go get a Codex Sinaiticus is older.
Don't we have fragmented pieces of Hebrew and other various texts? It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls as an example.
You have fragments, but the Septuagint and the Codex Sinaiticus, those are older.
Okay.
They're just not in a book
the-
together.
But are the Dead Sea Scrolls backing up the book of Enoch and the book of the Jubilees?
It doesn't back it up. It just lets us know that people believed it and had it in their canon. That's all that means.
But scholars even said verbatimly exactly what the preserving of the Jubilee in the canon. 1,000 years ago, they took the Jubilee out of Hebrew.
We have we have perfect renditions of the Bacchae. Does that mean the Bacchae is true? And it's older than the Ethiopian book. But does that mean the Bacchae is true?
But do you not believe? Have you ever read anything on the Jubilees? Is it the same time?
Okay.
Have you read on
You want to answer my question? We have perfect versions of the Bacchae.
Exactly right. We agree that the whole text has been filed and not exactly. We have to go by certain aspects of discernment within our own selves.
So appeal to magic. Appeal to magic. appeal to your emotions. My emotions say that this is the correct version, but your emotions doesn't say the Bacchae is the correct version because you don't emotionally connect and believe in the Bacchae.
Well, I think that some of that is the discernment with the individuals develop their relationship with the Father.
What about your discernment for the Bacchae and your development of your relationship with Dionysus?
See, that's the thing that I don't do is I don't discredit the way the other people see it as being, but so long as it has the same foundation of love within the person's character and has a set of morals and values.
So the Bacchae has all of that. The Bacchae has all of that.
Yes, and that's the foundation of what I feel like actually is God itself. It doesn't, and what we represent to get us there, or we utilize that we have brothers and sisters and we come together as a community and support each other. I don't think that I can say
okay.
that to
You know,
that
this conversation has went way off the rails.
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about anybody got proof of Jesus.
Do you have proof of love?
That's I say proof of Jesus.
Love is like faith. You don't see it.
I'm gonna give you one more opportunity. You got any proof of Jesus?
You have any proof that it doesn't?
Oh, I got plenty of that. Jesus never existed. There were Christians and Christus before there was Jesus, was 100 years before Jesus. And that we can see how this story in around the 4th, 5th century BCE got manipulated into claiming that the Christians were Christians. And we can see how the so-called church fathers edited people like Tacitus' writings in the annals to make Christians and Christus into Jesus, Christians and Christos. So we know.
I can agree. I mean, the possibility that so much stuff has been distorted and manipulated. What is the
okay? I can't.
It's all
everything is always distorted and all distorted. If everything's so distorted, then the only thing you got is you're appealing to your emotional connection with this belief system. You know, I tried to be patient. I know Man Maker, and then I'm going to Facebook, YouTube with Delirious. Man Maker.
Well, yeah, I was hoping to go back to the challenge of the woman at the well. I use, well, first of all, there was a book written by Kersey Graves called The World's 16 Crucified Saviors.
Hold on real quick. Are you over 21?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
But he wrote a book called The World's 16 Crucified Saviors, or Christianity Before Christ. And it was an exhaustive analysis of the parallels that came before the person called Jesus. He was more like a copy than anything else.
Yeah.
But going to your reading of the scripture about the woman at the well.
I read the Canaanite woman, not the woman at the well. He was trying to obfuscate to the woman at the well.
Yeah. I did read that story about him saying that it's for the children, not the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of use Occam's razor to kind of parse through it. And to me, it's like I can accept the racist cultural stuff that was going on, and at the same time see some of the other things that people do, good people do, there people who are just racist as hell.
You're muffled and scratchy right now.
I don't know why that is.
There you go. When you say I don't know why that is, that was perfectly clear.
Okay.
Now you're muffled again.
I'm muffled. Let me try something. Oh, I guess maybe I have to come.
You probably got it.
How's that?
You probably got it. That's fine. Got that iPhone probably.
Well,
go ahead.
I think that the simplest answer is probably the right one. And I just don't, anybody that comes out of a woman is a man, or a woman, another female. And so he can be doing good things, but have some views that are racist, or and I just don't put it past the person that's called Jesus. I lay it right there.
That's the simplest answer.
It's the same thing.
He grew up in a racist society, and he exemplified the racism.
Exactly. I don't see what when they elevate a man that come out of a woman over all other men, then you can make excuses for that. See, if they say the guy was God, then he could go around cursing trees and calling people dogs and all that kind of stuff, and it's excused. I mean, we have a good example here with the president of the United States.
Yep.
The man can't do no wrong.
While he's doing a bunch of wrong. And you bring up an interesting one with the fruit tree, because that one used to stump me when I was a kid, because I was like, if the damn tree wasn't in season, why the hell is he punishing the tree for not bearing fruit when it wasn't in season? I know there's a metaphoric idea of that, but it's still a dumb metaphor, because if he wanted to show some magic, take a tree that's not in season and make it produce fruit. That would have made more sense. Instead of saying rip it out because it's not producing fruit and it's out of season. That's what it biologically is supposed to do. Like, Jesus is dumb.
Anything goes when you elevate one man above another.
Yeah.
Anything goes. And so they're at the point to where they're calling this guy God. Well, see, I look at it like this. All right, then his mama had to be God. His grandparents had to be God, because if it come out of a human, it's going to be a human.
Yep.
It's just facts. If it come out of a dog, it's going to be a dog. And no pun intended regarding your scripture you read, but it's just facts. And so when you come down on the side of science and what we can observe clearly, you can see that the man he did have some good philosophies, really good. But even those were not original. So that's where I stand.
I'm standing there with you. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized that he's just a fairy tale character. And so there's no reason for me to believe in it, worship in him, or expect anything that he said is true. And
so let me ask you this then. You gave the example, and the gentleman did not really dig at it, of having choice.
Yeah.
And if you don't love this God, is there a punishment of hell? Well, that's clearly man-made stuff.
Yeah.
That religious dogmas have to coerce you.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot afford you to have a thought of your own.
No.
But yeah.
And
go
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have sons, and you put the example out there. I have 5 sons, and I notice all of my sons have different personalities, different ways of processing things, and they make different choices. And I can see some choices that's going to lead to a difficult time in one of my sons. I can see it. But
yeah.
I don't lay a choice. I don't lay a punishment on him because he takes a choice that he makes a choice that that I disapproved of. So likewise, if you don't believe in this God and he punishes you because you don't believe in him, forget the fact that there's no evidence for him.
Mm-hmm.
Then if he punishes you, then you don't have free will.
No, you don't. And you really don't even have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially take the Adam and Eve story. You put a poisonous tree in this garden. You then let's say the tree was cocaine or some kind of drug, poisonous drug. And then you let the drug dealer into the house to talk them into eating it, to taking some of the drugs. And then get mad at them because they took the drug.
Yeah.
And you start cursing them and punishing them. We will put that cat in jail for putting that poison in front of the children.
And you made the drug look good.
And you made the drug look good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's entrapment.
Oh my God.
He entrapped Adam and Eve. Plain and simple.
Entrap.
Yeah, that's entrapment.
I would love to hear a Christian try to explain that.
Oh, they used the free will thing. Oh, they had free will to choose. But how can you have free will to choose good and evil when you don't have the knowledge of what is good and what is evil? That doesn't make any sense. That's like being mad at your child for doing something. Okay, when the child is born, they don't know that taking another child's toy is that we consider that a bad thing. The child doesn't know. So why would you punish the child for doing something that they didn't know? It's only after you teach them that then and have a acceptable level that they understand, that then punishments are dealt out to say why they should or shouldn't do something. And none of that happened in the Genesis story.
None of it happened.
No.
And they were blind, they were ignorant, they were naked, and the dope dealer was let in the house to talk to them.
Yep.
I mean, that's a slam dunk defense.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay, my brother. I just wanted to
All right.
get in on it.
Appreciate
you. Mhm.
All right. Dalios, I keep calling him because I keep calling him by the wrong name. Dalios, what's up?
Hey, how you doing? No
Pretty
time.
good.
Oh, and I'm over 18.
Yeah, well, that only means for TikTok. You're on Facebook or YouTube, so you good.
Oh, okay.
I have to
Now,
ask that question for TikTok.
I'm gonna answer your questions that you got up here first. When was he born? Never.
Exactly.
Where did he grow up? In the Bible.
Yep.
The other stuff, I'm not about to answer now. But I got a question, and it's been every time I hear somebody talk about this Bible, and especially with people of our color,
Right.
Do people know how to Google, like, when was the Christianity introduced to Africa?
No, they know how to Google. They just don't know how to use Google properly. But yeah, they're not gonna ask that question. That question
Ever since I've been attending your videos, I have done, like, I have asked specific questions just like that. When was Christianity introduced to Africa? It said first century AD. I'm like, okay, that means that for people of our skin color, Christianity was not our original religion. And then let's say, okay, when it comes to our ancestors and slaves, everybody keep forgetting this fact, like, they were not Christians when they was trapped or captured or however they got us during the transatlantic slave trade. Why do we keep forgetting about our ancestors? Well, not we. Why do they keep forgetting about our ancestors and what they went through?
Indoctrination.
It's like it's so oblivious to everybody. It's so oblivious to Christians. The ones they got like I think her name is Angela. I've been watching a couple of podcasters that talk about this subject, and they make a very good point. You keep one foot in the Christianity, and you keep the other foot out of it, or however they was trying to say it. And I'm like, yeah, they do. But when you bring up these topics, it's just like, oh, they didn't have faith in the Lord, or the Lord was trying to teach them something. What the hell was he trying to teach them?
No,
punishment?
That's the justification of the Black Hebrew Israelites, that our ancestors had done wrong, so they had to be sold into slavery. But the regular Black Christian won't go back and they won't research that type of information and actually contemplate it and think about it, how that has affected them, because they've been so indoctrinated from youth that they're afraid that they may lose their so-called gift of heaven and end up in the torment of hell. So they just turn a blind eye to it. It's easier to just live your life in La La Land than it is to actually deal with the realities.
And which is that term they like to say, ignorance is bliss. Yeah, they take that to a whole nother meaning.
I literally had one of my cousins tell me, because her two sons listened to my videos, and she literally started the conversation with me. But then as we got into it, she was like, you know what? I'm just gonna live blissfully in my ignorance because it was just more comfortable for her. And I just said, okay.
I'm just going ahead and take this on head on. Like, if I got people that don't like me because I be at work and I be talking, and I talk about this stuff, but I talk about it as an educational purpose, not trying to make somebody convert or whatever. All right, I got this one coworker, he's a pastor or whatever, and he was up front talking brimstones of hellfire or whatever, and he was saying Islam's atheists and all that. When the Lord come, I said, hey, yo, no, this is not the time and place. You can talk about that. I said, matter of fact, I'm not even supposed to be here right now. Let me clock out and go to hell home, because I'm not trying to listen to this. You got people with different religions and different beliefs that's around you, and you're bringing this up, making people uncomfortable, which could be a lawsuit for the owner of this company.
Yep. Sure could be. And when I did have a job, I wouldn't have this discussion. And when I ran my companies, I don't have these discussions. It's not the right place to have them, and you shouldn't have them. And you're endangering somebody's business by doing, but because you want to push your narrative. That's some selfish shit right there.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can get some people who can prove Jesus, man.
Oh, and one quick, I'm starting trying to write a biography on my life, how I'm going through this process. Do you mind critiquing it for me if I send you an email?
Sure.
Appreciate it, sir. Appreciate it.
I ain't even got down into this other guy's book that I'm supposed to be critiquing too deep. But sure.
Appreciate it. You have a good day, Coach.
You too. All right. Now, TikTokers, YouTubers, Facebookers. Again, let me thank everybody who supports the channel. If you do a super chat, I'm definitely going to read the super chat and talk about whatever you put on the super chat. But I want to thank everybody who sends super chats, who gets in gifts and all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much for being subscribers and subscription holders and members. So I always want to make sure I get some thanks in there. I do appreciate y'all. Going to go back over to we got a long list of TikTokers on here. Please let your discussions be the fact that you're trying to prove Jesus. That's the conversation today. I don't know who is next. I'm just pressing buttons on the TikTok guest list here, because many people won't hold on. They'll just run and leave. Oh, I think we got somebody getting ready to come up. There's one guy in the comments over here on TikTok. He's talking a whole bunch of stuff, but he sure ain't coming up. Highway, you got a lot to say, and I don't read a lot of comments because I'm generally focused on what a person is saying. I saw that he talked about, Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman works for a university where if he were to say that Jesus didn't exist, period, he would get fired. And ask Bart Ehrman what his proof of Jesus is. Kenneth. You there, Kenneth?
Yeah, I'm just listening, man.
Oh, you hit the button to try to come up.
No.
Okay.
I'm just listening.
No problem. Appreciate you. All right. That happens a lot on TikTok. It's easy to hit these buttons. We're getting down to the last two people. Only two more people on here. Ocho Cinco.
What's going on, man?
How you doing?
I wanted to.
You over 21?
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you a believer in Jesus?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's your evidence of Jesus existing beyond faith and experience and emotions?
Secular sources like Tacitus and Flavius Josephus.
Tacitus never wrote about Jesus. He wrote about Crestius and Christians. his work was later changed or interpolated by 4th and 5th century Christians to change it to say Christians and Christos.
Yeah, so it's Christos, but then it was Annos 1544 from 116 AD. The thing about that is that Tacitus and Josephus both were first century Jewish historians.
Tacitus was actually 2nd century when he wrote Annuals. Josephus, yes, born in the 1st century, did write in the 1st century, but Josephus never talked about Jesus. The Testimonium Flavianus has been proven to be an interpolation, or for lack of a better term, a forgery.
Josephus, so Antiquities of the Jews from 2091 is looked as what? And where's your evidence?
A forgery. All right. So the oldest version of his writing, of his full writings that we have, it dates to the 4th, 5th century, and it is first quoted and said by Eusebius of Caesarea, who Eusebius of Caesarea in his own writings quoted Plato to say that if telling a lie furthers the religion, then we should tell the lie. And so Eusebius says that Josephus wrote this Testimonium Flavianus. We can tell by the writing with linguistic archaeology that Josephus didn't write that. That's a totally different style of writing and a different time frame of writing. And other people who previously don't have a copy of Josephus but quoted Josephus, like Origen, if Origen in his quotes about Josephus, he neglected to mention the Testimonium Flavianus, which is another reason why most scholars say that it wasn't part of Josephus' original writing. And Josephus, being a practicing Jew, would have never called Jesus the Christ. Josephus died a Jew.
No, of course. No, yeah, of course. He died a Jew. But can you show me, like, can you look that up and say, and show me that?
Show you what?
Show you that that the latest writings is from the 5th century.
I can't bring it up on this screen. Is that what you're talking about?
You can green screen, or you could just show it on your computer. You could just show us the screen on your computer. Actually, sir, well, not you, I'm talking to the Tom. I actually did read it. That's Antiquities of the Jews, and it wasn't actually talking about Jesus. He was bringing up Jesus from James. So yeah, that's not
the Jesus whose brother. He talks about a Jesus who has a brother named James, and both of them were high priests, Jewish high priests. That's not the same one. The other Jesus was the son of Damnius, so that's not the Jesus of the Bible.
Well,
that's a different
where's
Jesus.
your proof of that?
You said you read the annals. It's in the annals. He talks about a bunch of different Yeshua.
Yeah, what part? What chapter? Where does that say that they wasn't talking about Jesus as in Jesus Christ?
Hold on. I'm trying to get your first question up here.
Yeah, no, my fault. I was talking to the dude below. I didn't even mean to hit you with all those questions.
Oh, you weren't. Oh, okay. But yeah. All right. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, and I can't see what you actually see. But do you see where it says earliest? Can you see that?
Yeah, no, I'm just reading it backwards. Yeah, evidence of.
You see highlighted is
yeah, I see it.
Eusebius of Caesarea in 324.
324. Okay. So and that's my point. So you believe that the later that something is written is the less proof of what someone is?
No, it's not. It's not a later. When you look at the writing style, that part of the Testimonium Flavianus is a different writing style than the rest of the annals. And
you mean Tacitus when you said annals, right?
no, well, that's it. Yeah, I did say annals. So the writings of Josephus, you can see that it's actually in the in Tacitus' writings, you can see that there are many scholars today who are looking at Tacitus' writing and saying that it's a different version as well. But that's still highly debated. So I don't really go into that part until there's a consensus on it. And then I read it for myself and understand it myself. And I go wherever the information takes me. But as far as Josephus' writing, the version that you see, one of the telltale signs is that other church fathers prior to Eusebius of Caesarea spoke about Josephus, yet none of them ever mentioned the Testimonium Flavianus. And if the Testimonium Flavianus was present, there is no doubt that people like Origen, who quotes Josephus, that Polycarp, Irenaeus, that they all would have quoted Josephus in the Testimonium Flavianus. The fact that no one, until you get to a person who says that he is a liar and is known as a liar, quotes it, and the writing style is different, the consensus is it was something that Eusebius added to Josephus's work.
Wait. Who are the scholars that are calling Josephus a liar? Because that's what they get most of their Roman.
Nobody's calling Josephus a liar. We're calling Eusebius of Caesarea a liar. And the reason why you can call him a liar, because he says that he is. He tells you in his writings, he quotes Plato in his writings and saying that if telling a lie, he calls it a falsehood, if telling a falsehood to further the religion, he says that telling a falsehood to further the religion is justifiable and righteous.
Okay.
So the man himself wrote it. It ain't what other people think about him, it's what he wrote himself.
Okay, and I have to look more into his writings because so I concede to that. Josephus thinks I don't know much about that. I'm not going to say that, but I know about what was being said for what that person who wrote and copied down what Josephus said. I don't know much about that. But we can't talk about Tacitus though, and what your points is about Tacitus, because if you say that that's not a true fact, you're taking away a lot of history from Tacitus.
No, not taking it. So when Tacitus, the versions of we can see where Christians in the margin of Tacitus' work wrote in on the margin where it says Crestius, they wrote in Christian, and we can see them erasing the E of Crestius to make it into an I, so that Crestius becomes Christos, and where Christians become Christians by erasing the E. And it's not like they were very similar in meaning, because Crestius, which can be a name, but also means it's a name that was often given to slaves and poor people, but just meant good person. And the Christians were those who followed Crestius, which was a religion 100 years before Jesus. That was mainly in Turkey, and that came down into Syria and the rest of the Levant over that 100-year period.
Hold on, do you know what Tacitus mainly focused on when it came to history?
I mean, mainly focused on denigrating the Julio Claudians.
No. He mainly focused on first century history. That's what he mainly wrote about.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying within that first century history, he focused on denigrating the Julio Claudians. So, like, you know,
but you said 100 years. You said 100 years before that, there was a religion called what?
Christians.
Christians. So if that was so, Christians weren't in the first.
No, they were still in the first century.
They were still in the first century.
Yeah, still in the first century. It's just later, all through the Levant and through Asia Minor. That was their primary area, the Levant and Asia Minor.
And that proves my point. So where was
Wait. How does that prove your point?
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. So where was Tacitus' main focus when it came to history? It was not down in East Asia Minor. Where was it? It was Roman history that he was mainly worried about. What's that?
Do you know where Asia Minor is? Modern day, what we call that?
Well, what is that?
That's Turkey.
Okay.
The Roman Empire controlled that area during the time frame of during the first century, even in the first century BCE, second century, first century BCE, through the first century CE and on, they controlled that area, and they controlled the Levant as well. So he's writing about that is in the Roman Empire.
That is all. Okay. Let me look at.
Yeah. If people hang on, old Louis is next, and then Joseph, Benjamin, and then Renee. So, and I'm gonna try to hold people to a smaller amount of time so that other people can get on. So I'm gonna need you to come on back, Ocho Cinco. Oh, Ocho, you did something that caused you to drop. I think you was trying to come back, but you did something that caused you to drop. Oh, Louis,
Hey, how's it going, man?
pretty good. Are you over 18, 21?
Yes.
All right. And are you a believer in Jesus? All right. And what is your evidence that Jesus existed?
I want to talk about the manuscripts. I noticed there you had no manuscripts until the fourth. I guess that says the 4th century.
What?
On your screen,
Oh,
it says no manuscripts until 4th century.
Yeah.
Is that the claim you're making?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess my question is why do you think there's no manuscripts until the 4th century?
because the only manuscripts, the first manuscripts that we would have, which is like the Septuagint, Codex Sinaiticus, they only date back to the 4th century. We have fragments that go beyond that, but manuscripts we don't.
So a fragment is still a manuscript.
No,
Why don't you think a fragment is a manuscript?
because it's not. Nowhere in the world of writing is a fragment of a manuscript the manuscript. It is just a fragment. That's why we call them a fragment. Like P52 is called a fragment.
A fragment of what?
Of what they hope is the same manuscript that they have in the 4th century and 5th century and further on. But because we got 30 words of John on a fragment, doesn't mean that whatever that fragment was attached to is going to be the exact same as what we do have in the fullness of John. And one of the examples of that is Mark 16 after verse 8. In the older versions, that in the older manuscripts that we have of that, the story, the all that after verse 8 doesn't exist in the oldest manuscripts because that part was later added. So that in itself shows that a fragment may not be the same. Whatever that fragment came from may not be the same as what we do have when we have a full manuscript of it.
I get the completion, like you're defining the manuscript as a completed
Mhm.
document, not a fragment. But I understand manuscript to be simply just a handwritten document or a surviving handwritten portion of a document. It doesn't have to be complete to count as a manuscript.
You got if you were, let's say, if we had a version of John, and I'm sticking with John because P52 is like one of the oldest fragments that we have, right? It is the oldest fragment.
Yeah,
I think.
P52, P46, P45,
Yeah.
and 75.
Oldest fragment. It only got 30 words. If that was more like half, if it was half of John, then I would let it be a manuscript. But it's 30 words. That if I only had like 30 letters off of your birth certificate, there's a lot of information that I'm not going to have about you, which wouldn't tell me who you are or anything. And and it leaves open a lot of misinformation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So because there's no preservation, there's no reliability.
Yeah. The reliability, well, the percentage of reliability shrinks dramatically.
But why wouldn't you consider the copies reliable? You think it might be corrupted or something?
Well, we can see how copies have been corrupted, how copies have changed. Have you ever examined like the King James Bible and like the Codex Sinaiticus? You will see
like translations is different than
no
original. I'm talking about the original manuscripts.
not just translation, but changing of words, adding of words, taking away of words. That's not translation. Like
Yeah, it's not corruption though either.
that there very much is corruption. When you change something to mean something else, it turns it that is corruption.
Well, you need to appeal to a truth for it to be corrupted. If you have no object of truth of what it originally is, you can't say it's corrupted.
If King James, in the King James version, everywhere where it says church, it's supposed to say assembly, congregation. Well, you've changed the entire meaning when you change it to church and congregation in the 17th century, because now you've taken away from it being the people to being the organization, and the mindset of the people in the 17th century in the Anglican Church now shifts from the people to the organization, the institution, which is headed by James as the king and over the state and the religion. So you've corrupted what the previous writings were.
I would say to that point, I think that when we read scripture, we can read in the different translations, but it's important when it comes to the meaning of words to refer back to its original language that it was written, that it was at least or copied in. So like the Greek, you know, to the person reading it as church, it can say church or it can say people, you know, so but if you go refer back to the original language, you don't get confused because you will read it in its original intention. So there's no corruption there. You just have to you just have to do a quick reference.
Right. So you don't read the King James version. You just read the versions that do convert it into what the actual writing meant back then.
Yeah, or just read it in its context. You don't have to take it at face value, because if you do, you can be left to an improper interpretation. Whereas if you read it in this original language, like if it's a verse, you know, that you can refer back to in the Greek to understand exactly what it meant, you can do that.
So do you read
it's corrupted?
So do you read Koine Greek and Hebrew, ancient Hebrew and Proto-Hebrew?
I personally don't, but I do make practice of referring back to it if there's a controversial topic or verse between, like if I'm talking with somebody, I'll refer back to the Hebrew or the Greek. But I personally don't read it. My Bible is ESV, right? But I'm not reading in Hebrew or Greek.
But what if you have no controversy? Would you know or not know if there was something amiss, something wrong?
If there wasn't any controversy, would I know if there's something amiss or wrong? I could know. If I put together the cumulative teaching of the whole Bible in its context, like if there's a topic that I am having trouble understanding, you know, I'm going to refer to the whole cumulative teaching of the Bible, and not just that one verse out of context.
So in Genesis 2, when he says that, Genesis 1, when they say, let us make man in our own image.
Yeah.
And in the image of man, we shall make him. All right. Is that controversial to you?
I don't think that's controversial. Well, yeah, it would be controversial to people who don't believe.
I asked, is that controversial to you? I ain't asked about other people. Is that controversial to you?
Meaning, do I think that it has different meanings?
Yeah, could it have a different meaning? Like what does that mean to you?
I think scripture is absolute. What does that verse mean to me?
Yeah, who is the us?
The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Okay. See, here's the thing. Unless you understood Proto-Hebrew or ancient Hebrew, that actually says Elohims in the plural form, which means to those people at that time of the writing, the council of gods. Which is God and his little angels and the other gods. That has nothing to do with Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
Okay, that's fair.
You
got me there. Yeah, I can see that, but I don't think that's you know, like a conclusion to come to, that the manuscripts that we have of the earliest dates, like the fragments, you know, going back to the original argument, I don't think that those should be discarded and then say that scripted that it could have been corrupted. You don't appeal to an objective manuscript to say that it's corrupted.
I didn't say that it is corrupted. I just say that I don't accept that what we have in the 4th century and beyond is exactly the same as P52. So that's why I said the earliest manuscripts, 4th century. So you got 300 years from the supposed events happening.
Do you accept
there's no contemporary
documents like P46, P45, or 75?
What?
Or you don't accept those either?
Those are scraps. They're not
Yeah, those are
manuscripts.
fragments. Those are fragments as well.
They're
Yeah,
not
I know,
manuscripts.
but like, you don't accept those either. What if they have more than 30 words, like P25 or P52?
All it means to me is that people at that time frame in the 2nd century, 3rd century were believing in some type of story that's relatable to this Jesus character. That's all it means. It doesn't prove Jesus existed.
Well, when you want proof, do you want like 100% beyond any doubt with 100% certainty?
I ain't got to be 100, but at least give me 80. Give me 80.
That's honest.
There's
That's
no,
honest.
I mean, there's no one who was a contemporary of Jesus wrote about Jesus. Not one person. Not when we,
What does
since
that
we're
mean?
talking about manuscripts. What is, contemporaries? People who were living and writing at the same time of Jesus, supposedly living. We
You
have,
don't believe in the. I didn't want to appeal to this because it didn't seem like you agreed with it, but like you don't believe in his disciples or the people who knew his disciples that they wrote anything.
no, because none of those books were ever named until 180 when Irenaeus named them. So we didn't even, they weren't called Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and all that sort of thing. None of them were ever bound in any type of canon until Marcion put forth his canon in 144. Now, I'm sure that there was writings before Marcion because Papias and Polycarp said that they rather trust oral tradition than trust right manuscripts. So I'm sure that in early 2nd century that there was some type of writings, but the fact that they say that Peter was illiterate, you know, this dude couldn't write. That's why I say Mark is just writing down what Peter said, told him, right? That's what that's what the thought process.
That.
No, because we have no proof that Mark existed. We have no proof that Peter existed. These things were just oral traditions until at the earliest, the late 1st century. But I put most of it in the early 2nd century.
Well, do you think that there's no proof, or do you think that there's not enough evidence to convince you? I think there's evidence.
There's
whether it
both.
convinces you or not.
Both. There's no proof, and nor is there enough evidence.
But is there some evidence?
No. That's the problem with them. There's zero evidence that they lived. There's zero evidence.
So you think that? How do you think the Bible came about? Or no, not the Bible. How do you think the Gospels came about? Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You think that they're fiction?
Yeah, based on other religions that were similar to it, and that they can. So you got every religion, every offshoot of a religion, or every religion comes from a primary religion that it stems from. In this case, the primary is Judaism, and then there are archetypes from the Apollonius of Tyana, Mithricism, Dionysus, the worship of Dionysus from the Bacchae. So those archetypes are added to this story, and then the Christians, who was a group that was occupying that area as a cult religion. And so when these Jesus stories are starting to be told, they're told based on the previous knowledge of these other religions, because it's hard to start a brand new religion. You generally you create something different off of your current, kind of like the Mormons.
How the Mormons took like from Christianity.
Right. So what the Jesus story is taking from is the Jewish story, obviously. They're taking from the Jewish story. That's their basis. But then they're taking from other Greek stories as well.
Greek stories? Like, do you have at least one, for example?
The Bacchae. This is the story. Yeah, this would be the story of Paul and Jesus.
The road to Damascus.
Yep. You have
you saying that they took that from a Greek, inspired from a Greek story.
The motif of that, yes, a wandering preacher, savior type who's being oppressed by some authority, and then they appear to the authority and convince the authority that they were wrong, and then the authority start worshiping them or practicing that religion. That's a recurring archetype in that region of the world's history.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to defend my point without like trying to convince you that the Gospels are reliable and that the manuscripts are reliable.
But they're not.
I mean,
You
haven't shown
can't.
any evidence for that other than speculation.
No, I showed you how King James changed stuff.
That
I showed-
wasn't very convincing.
I showed you how even in your Bible, if you go into your Bible, it tells you that everything after Mark 16, and I think it's verse 8, everything is it wasn't in the original manuscripts of Mark, it wasn't in the oldest manuscripts of Mark that we do have.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that. That doesn't take away from the reliability or the evidence supporting that Jesus was a real person.
So adding to the story doesn't take away the reliability. That's just the reliability of the manuscripts. Now, as far as Jesus,
No, it was there first. It was taken out later.
no. It wasn't there, and it was added to. And then later on, people put it in quotations or put a little footnote there.
Because the earlier I'm probably confusing it with another passage, but that one specifically, I believe that it was put in quotations or whatnot because was it because earlier manuscripts didn't have it, or is it because
Yeah.
they did have it?
No, because earlier
Right?
manuscripts did not have it.
Okay, yeah, I'll just make sure. I was right on that.
So the consensus is that somebody along the line added it to the Mark story, and their rationale, which trying to prove rationale is very difficult, but the general rationale is that because the other, unless somebody tells you what their rationale is, because the other ones had prolonged stories after the resurrection, they thought Mark should have a prolonged story after the resurrection as well.
Yeah, because Mark's the shortest gospel.
Yeah.
Do you have any evidence to show that like Jesus wasn't real? I'm just curious, or it's just like from like an argument of silence.
Argument of silence, but also an argument within the Bible itself that it demonstrates, which is what some of this other stuff is up here, that it's a fairy tale creation. Matthew has Jesus being born at minimum 10 years before Luke has Jesus being born. You can't be born 10 years apart. You're born one time.
You said they haven't been born at different times, like in periods of time?
Yeah.
Matthew and Luke?
Yep.
For the virgin birth and the key event so different. Matthew begins with the genealogy. Luke traces Jesus' lineage back to Adam.
Yeah,
do you have like an exact verse or no?
The exact verse.
Matthew places Jesus' birth in the days of King Herod, and Luke places it during a census under Quirinius.
Yeah. Quirinius does his census of Judea in 6 CE. Herod dies no later than 4 BCE.
I don't know if there's an absolute conclusion that he dies no later than 4.
Oh no, there's a conclusion to that. It's absolute.
What's the evidence for that?
Well, based on some of the historians that you already mentioned, like Tacitus, but based on other Roman records that show that Herod ruled, and the dating is he died between 6 and 4 BCE. And then after Herod, they put in Herod Antipas, his son, and he ruled until 6 CE. And we have the records that show that they ruled. And then that's when Quirinius, who didn't become governor of Syria until 6 CE, came to do the census in Judea, because the Roman records show that it is in 6 CE when Judea stopped being a protectorate and became formally a part of the empire.
Do you think that they could just be using different time references, instead of saying like this, like in the time of that could be subjective to like. either
it's not-
a few weeks or a few years.
No, because other historians like Pliny state that Quirinius was a legatus in Asia Minor during the time frame that Herod was, at the same time that Herod was king of Judea, and he doesn't become a governor until Augustus in 6 CE. So we know that the timing matches because it tells you things happen during this person's reign or rule. And we know when these people reigned and ruled.
Yeah, and Herod's reign ended around 4.
Yeah.
But the census
What?
is earlier than 6, so around like 5 to 6.
No, the census is 6 CE.
6 CE. So the discrepancy is about 2 years.
10.
10.
Herod dies in 6
AD,
BC.
Yeah, 4 BC.
There you go.
AD,
There you go.
I wonder how the Christian scholars reconcile this. Do you know?
Well, you got some who try to say that maybe Quirinius did a census, an earlier census during the reign of Herod, yet there's zero evidence of a census in Judea. There was a census in Turkey and Syria during that time frame, but not in Judea. And it wasn't done by Augustus Caesar at that time frame either, because Augustus Caesar wasn't in charge yet. Then, so they try to explain it that way to say that maybe it was an earlier census. Other than that, they really don't have an explanation. They try to just avoid it. Because they know they also can't combat the fact that it is known that Quirinius was a legatus when Herod was king, and he didn't become a governor until 6 CE.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I guess, like, even if we grant Luke got the census date wrong, how would you go from,
But he didn't.
what argument? Well, what argument can you get from an ancient author made a chronological mistake to Jesus was fictional?
Well, it's not just chronological mistakes that are in play here. We also got lineage mistakes between Luke's version and Matthew's version, as far as like who is Joseph's father. Is it Heli or is it the other dude? I forgot the other dude's name. We also got the fact that Luke is saying that Jesus and his mother, after they finished being there, after about 40 days, they returned back to Nazareth in Galilee, where Matthew has them going straight to Egypt and remaining in Egypt until Herod dies, and then going to Galilee only because Herod Antipas is ruling. And so he goes to Galilee before the census. So we got Jesus can't be he could not have been born and go to Egypt and been born and go to Galilee at the same time. So their stories are still not adding up as far as what happened right after, after Jesus was born.
The genealogy difference, I looked it up and it explained that Heli and Jacob were uterine brothers, and that Heli died childless, and Jacob married Heli's widow under the Levirate marriage custom.
Yeah, that's
Joseph. Do you think that that's true or no?
There's zero evidence that shows that. That's the problem with that. That's one of the apologetic answers, yet it has zero evidence whatsoever. The other apologetic answer is that Luke is giving Mary's bloodline, but Mary is a Levite, first of all. So, and then the second part is that in their time frame, they would never give the mother's lineage because women don't matter. And a woman's line, even if it did go through David, wouldn't work.
Well, whether there's evidence for it or not, I don't think it matters, because you don't find everything as a whole reliable anyway. So even if
but it's not reliable because of the contradictions and the anachronisms That's why it's not
Well,
reliable.
if you grant that's true, that Luke is taking into account the levirate marriage, if you were to grant that that's true, whether there's enough evidence for that, no evidence at all, then that wouldn't be a contradiction, correct? I just wanted to know, like,
If you granted that, if there was evidence, or I granted that was a levirate marriage, then you would be able to say that, okay, it's not a contradiction. But then the problem comes with, if Jesus is supposed to be the Messiah, he has to come from the actual bloodline of David, right?
Of David. Yeah, David.
And the problem is Joseph didn't put his ping ping in her pum pum. So according to the Messianic rules, there's no Davidic bloodline in Jesus from the Father. So he can't be the Messiah of the Old Testament.
You're saying if that was granted?
If that was granted, is Joseph the biological father?
Well, no one ever claimed Joseph to be the biological father.
Right. And according to the Messianic prophecies, the Messiah comes from the biological father that is in the line of David.
I think that is still in the line of David, though.
How can
if that was granted?
If you adopted a boy, is he of your biological bloodline?
No.
The Messiah has to be of the biological bloodline of David.
So is it biological?
Yes.
Is that-
All the Old Testament parts that talks about this line of David is all biological. Christians just flips it and let it be adoptive.
Biologically, you'd agree Jesus was the son of Mary, though, right?
According to the story, sure.
Oh, yeah, according to. And and Mary's ancestry traces back to David.
Yeah, but in the Hebrew, the mother's biology don't matter. And here's the thing: we don't know Mary's bloodline. We only know that she is of the Levitical. She's of the Levitical priest line. We don't know who her parents are.
But I'm pretty sure that. Well, you said that in the Hebrew it doesn't matter, but we agree that Mary is of the Davidic lineage.
No, we don't. I just said that we have actually.
You don't.
We have no proof. We have nothing that tells us whose Mary's parents were. There's a church tradition that says that her mother was Anne, but that was something that was created by the later church out of Rome. We have nothing. There's nothing in the Bible that shows Mary's bloodline other than the fact that she is a cousin to Elizabeth, and they are of the Levites. That's it. Nothing else about Mary.
Do you think is Joseph of the lineage of David?
If you were to say that he is from, if you were to say that he's from either Jacob or Heli, and which one are you saying is his biological? Which one are you? Because that matters.
Well, I'm not calling anyone his biological father because I don't believe that he had one.
Joseph?
Oh, Joseph.
Which one do you think is his biological father? Even if you did the Levirate marriage in Luke, which one would be his biological father?
The one in Matthew.
Right. What's his name? Jacob, right?
Jacob, yeah.
Jacob line goes through Nathan. There's a curse that's put on Nathan's line that says that they can never be the king of Israel, that they can never be the Messiah. So even if the bloodline was through Joseph, that line was cursed by God to never be the king of Israel, be the Messiah.
In which verse?
The Matthew version.
No, I know, but where did God curse that line?
Let me see. It's going to be in the Old Testament. 2 Samuel 12.
2 Samuel 12.
Let me make sure.
And you mentioned that God cursed David's lineage so that the Messiah would never be born from it. Is that what you said?
Yep. Let me make sure though,
Okay.
because it's not Nathan himself. It's the, I hate saying his name. That's why I always just say Nathan. So my bad. It's Jeremiah 22, where it says, write this man down as childless, for none of the descendants shall prosper, sitting on the throne of David and ruling anyone in Judea. So that is the curse that was placed on Jeconiah. I don't know why I can't.
Yeah,
Jeconiah.
Jeconiah.
I struggle with that damn. And Jeconiah is in the line that comes from that the Matthew line has.
Yeah, but Jeremiah 23:5 immediately promises that God will raise up a righteous branch from David who will reign as king.
From what line?
From David. I said from David.
Yeah, but understand, David had two sons that these kingships has been following: the line of Solomon and the line of Nathan. The line of Solomon, and in one line, in Solomon, and one of the lines which has Jeconiah in it, that line cannot have a king. The Messiah cannot come from there.
And you're saying that according to Matthew, the Messiah did come from there.
According to Matthew.
It said Jeconiah as one of the genealogies.
Yeah, Jeconiah is in the Matthew version. He's in that line.
Let me see.
So although that would be from the line of David, he loses any legal rights to sit on the throne. And according to the Old Testament, the Messiah has to sit on the throne of David.
Yeah, but Jeconiah in Matthew's genealogy. But remember, Matthew's presenting Jesus's lineage, like the royal line through Joseph. And even though Jeremiah 22, what it says, it doesn't say no Messiah can ever come through David. It judges Jeconiah's line.
That's my point. I didn't say David. David has two lines: Nathan's line, Solomon's line. Within Solomon's line, there's Jeconiah. Jeconiah was cursed, and after Jeconiah, no one from Jeconiah's line can sit on the throne. But through Nathan's line, they can sit on the throne. This is why Luke uses Nathan's line, but Matthew mistakenly uses Jeconiah's line.
Yeah, your original claim, though. So the curse cannot mean that the Davidic Messiah is canceled. It doesn't mean that.
But the Messiah has to sit on the throne of David and be of the bloodline. They have to be on the bloodline and legally sit on the throne. Joseph's line can't legally sit on the throne.
According to, you're appealing to Jeremiah 22?
As far as them sitting on the throne?
How can you reconcile that with the next chapter where it says that a branch, when I will raise up David a righteous branch
through Nathan, through Nathan's line, which is the line.
So you're saying that's through Nathan's line, and because that's through Nathan's line, that it contradicts Matthew.
Yes, and Nathan's line is the line that Luke gives in order to avoid the issue.
Is Nathan's line the legal royal line?
It's a royal line as well. Yes, David had two other. He had a bunch of sons, but his two surviving sons were Nathan and Solomon, both of them born from Bathsheba.
So just So just so I can understand your claim again, just as a whole, you're not saying that the Davidic Messiah is canceled. You're just saying that there's a contradiction.
I'm just saying that Jesus can't come. If Jesus is from Joseph's line, if he was biologically Joseph's line, he could not sit on the throne. He could not be the Messiah.
But he could because it depends the branch. It depends which line. With the two sons, right? You said either Nathan or Solomon.
Joseph's biological father is Jacob, which is the Matthew line. That's the line that can't sit on the throne. So
Yeah,
if
the
Jesus,
royal legal line.
so if Jesus was his father, he could not sit on the throne because he was not legally allowed to sit on the throne.
But there's a difference between the legal royal and the biological descent.
Who is he's in both. Biologically, he's Jacob's son, right? Joseph is Jacob's son biologically.
And coming through Jeconiah, through Solomon.
Right.
You
So
said biologically?
yeah, biologically. So can he sit on that throne biologically if he was Joseph's biological son?
I'd have to track that.
We just answered it. Jacob goes through Nate, goes through Jeconiah, Nate, and goes up through Solomon, right?
Oh, yes.
So-
Jeconiah, Solomon, David, yeah.
So if he was Joseph's biological son, he can't sit on the throne.
Jesus can't.
No, Jesus cannot.
Let me just double check. What's the usual response to this?
People run.
No, I don't like to run. I like to.
There's really the biggest response becomes faith and all this other stuff.
No.
Because
I wouldn't want to do it.
when you're looking at the technicalities of it, you see that what Luke is doing is trying to circumvent that mistake by implying the Levirate marriage or just outright giving him a different father so that he can go through the line that can sit on the throne. I don't even go with the Levirate. I don't accept the Levirate. I think they're just two contradictory bloodlines or lineages. So, but if you go either way, Luke is just trying to avoid that issue that was already pre-written in Matthew.
I see now. Okay, so Jeremiah 22:30 says, "No man of his seed
Mm-hmm.
shall prosper, sitting upon a throne of David and ruling anymore in Judah." So the answer would be that Matthew traces Jesus' legal royal claim through Joseph, but that Matthew denies that Joseph biologically fathered Jesus. So therefore, like the seed curse doesn't apply to Jesus.
But you have to be of the seed to sit on the throne of David. You see, that's why I say that they get into the whole, well, I just believe in Jesus and faith, because you're ignoring all the buildup to get to the Messiah. And you're going to ignore that part you're ignoring the fact that you got to be from the bloodline.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying, the contention. So you have to be of the seed to be on the throne of David. So you can't say, well, Jesus is technically not of the seed, so the curse doesn't apply to him. So you have to reconcile that.
Yeah, you have to figure
I have to reconcile it.
You have to reconcile it, and the only way to reconcile it is just to say that, well, he's Jesus, he's Son of God. It's a miracle. You have to appeal to magic.
No, I don't think we have to. I think there can be an explanation to it. Let me see if I can do something.
If this God has determined that this is how the Messiah is going to come, then you have to say that we're just going to ignore that.
And you wouldn't accept because you wouldn't accept him coming through the lineage of
Mary?
Sorry, so many names. Yeah. No, not a Mary. Like the issue is whether he has to be a biological seed or like he
has to be a biological seed. That
he has to be a biological seed.
Yeah.
All right. I would probably just concede to like interpretive difficulties rather than just the solutions like an airtight one. Because at the same time we have scripture in the next chapter talking about how God is going to raise up David, a righteous branch, a king who will reign. So it's like either God's gonna not rise up a king who will reign, or he
Yeah.
is.
That's an easy fix through Nathan's line. So
Who is
Okay.
it?
it's no one, actually.
It's no one.
No, well, here's why, and this is why you don't see the Israelites today setting up a king, because when the temple was destroyed in 70, all the documentations of lineage was destroyed. So the Jewish people have no idea who's in the line, who are Levites, who are the line of David. They have no idea because all of their documentation was destroyed, and they tried to recreate it a little bit later on. It has a name. I forgot what it's called. They tried to recreate it, but they have no idea who's in the line of David right now because everything was destroyed in 70. So that's why I said no one, because you wouldn't be able to identify anyone in the line of Nathan after 70.
That's good. Yeah, I can see to this without because I have no preparation for it. I never even came across it. Obviously, I'm not gonna apostatize over something like an interpretive difficulty. But you've given me something to you're giving me something to learn how to defend. That's why I like joining these lives. I come with I come with the expectation to discuss and challenge each other, and I'm gonna look into it for sure.
Okay, but try this. Try to look into it without the predetermined mindset that I'm gonna defend it, and just let the information take you wherever it takes you. Why do you have to have a predetermined landing spot? If you already got a predetermined landing spot, there's no reason to even research it. Why bother? Because you're not going to learn anything. The only thing you're going to learn is how to get back to your same conclusion. That's not critical thinking.
I'm talking about specifically for these discrepancies, like a genealogy and the controversial topic of it has to be a seed, but it can't be the seed, so that this isn't possible. I think the cumulative teaching of the Bible is still absolute. Like the core beliefs and
Really?
the existence of God and the reliability of Jesus. I think that's still intact for me in my mind. But I want to learn about these discrepancies that I've never heard before, so that not that I can learn how to defend them, but just to see what other people say about it,
Okay, there's a whole nother line that I can go into, but I want to let some other people get up here.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
All right, appreciate you. Where did my comments go on YouTube? I know that conversation lasted way longer than I said that I was going to let conversations last. It happened. We got to keep moving. Joseph. Damn, I want to call you Joseph all the time. Joseph. I know you've been waiting. Hopefully you ain't fall asleep on me.
No, I've just been listening to him.
Okay.
With intrigue. I'm listening. I don't just jump on spill my 2 cents or whatever and then jump out, and I listen more than I speak, actually. So
what you got for us today?
Well, to the last gentleman, he asked the question that it was an interesting question. And he asked you, he said, well, when it's all said and done, how do I prove to you that the gospel is real and that God is real? And you said in response, you said there is no evidence and there is no proof. So my response to him would be, is that you can't convince anyone that God is real any more than you can convince a blind man can see. If only he chooses to open his eyes. So at some point, the darkness will overwhelm them, and then they choose to open their eyes to see the light. In the same way that I did. I didn't want to see it. So whatever proof or evidence there was that existed, that I knew was that I sense was there, it was more convenient for me to not see it, to close my eyes to it. But it took a man who embodied the nature of the gospel. It wasn't him taking the Bible out and running through scriptures and pointing out different things and this, and this, and this, and this, and look at what it wasn't, it was him. It was whatever it is that this man has, I want it too. And it's not a knowledge, it's not a mental masturbation. It's a spiritual thing. It's something you sense that even if you deny it, you can't deny it. So you're drawn to that person. So it's best for someone who believes in God, whether a Christian or not, just believe in God in general, to live their life in a way that would exemplify God, that would demonstrate that God is real, which is what he uses us for. It's
Okay,
much easier
wait,
to
stop.
go
Okay,
ahead. I
you're
figured
starting
you
to
don't
preach.
stop me.
Yeah, because you're preaching, and
No, I was just
we're talking about you're talking about experiences. I'm looking for proof, not experiences, because I can make the same claim about a Hindu guy that I adore. I can make the same claim about a Buddhist guy that I adore. That doesn't mean that I should follow Hinduism or Buddhism just because they that was their tool or process to become the person that they are. So that's not proof at all. That doesn't prove that Jesus existed. And when we take these messages, what the gospel exemplifies, that's because we're cherry picking what parts of it exemplifies how we think our morality should be today, not what they were saying back then. Jesus called that lady a dog. I'm not trying to exemplify that at all. Now, a person who believes in the Bible today probably won't exemplify that. A lot of them don't. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't exemplify that aspect of Jesus. But at the end of the day, it doesn't prove Jesus. And that's what we're talking about. Prove Jesus.
Well, I would say I have that proof, but I don't think, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, I don't think you would. I know you wouldn't accept it, but I think you would be curious enough to look into it. But I kind of foresee your first thought is going to be like, well, how is that not any different than anyone else who says that they are?
If it's some experiential or emotional thing, then yeah, it's going to be the same thing, unless you got some hardcore proof.
I mean, the only hardcore proof would be the person himself, right? So, for example, if I say, oh no, okay, that's not. So you're not Lorenzo. If I say, are you Lorenzo? And then you tell me you're Lorenzo. So what else do I have to go off on? Maybe your birth certificate? But okay, what more? How do I know that you are Lorenzo? There's millions of other Lorenzos, but what makes you Lorenzo? So if I say that this Jesus is,
so
go ahead.
No, I mean, you were on somewhat on the right track. Yeah, you're gonna need some birth certificates. You guys, you can find some old pictures. You find people who knew me and who knew me, and are able to say, "Oh yes, I knew him. I went to high school with him. I went to college with him. I was served in the Marine Corps with him." Plenty of other documentations that show that I was actually in all the places that I claimed that I was in. All of that kind of stuff proves that Lorenzo existed. He existed. He was in the Marine Corps. He went to the University of Alabama for a short time frame. He was married. He had these kids. He went to this high school. And we have evidence that show that all of this is that person that's sitting on the screen right now. Yeah. You'd be able to say Lorenzo exists. You'll be able to prove me that I'm here. We don't even have contemporaries of Jesus. At least people who was walking around with him or during his time frame saying that, oh yeah, there's this Jesus dude. He over there preaching and doing some miracles, same miracles everybody else does, but he's doing some miracles. We ain't got none of that. I don't expect to have coins minted with his face on it or things like that, but if he's going around Judea doing all the shit that he claimed that he's doing, somebody's in that Roman Empire, which is a mixture of a bunch of different people, would have mentioned him, talked about it, but nobody does. Like 100 years from now, people will still know who David Koresh and Jim Jones was. because they shit they did was so crazy. People still gonna, there's gonna be some people that still know. We're gonna have some contemporary articles about it. We ain't got nothing about Jesus. He healing all these people, feeding people with a 2-piece fish sandwich. Nobody wrote about that.
Wait, nobody wrote about it, but and yet, I mean, for what the accounts it's in. You said that we will remember someone like a Jim Jones because of all the crazy things he did,
Yeah.
and my argument is simply that there's a reason why people remember someone like a Buddha, or someone like a Jesus, or even Muhammad, because it's the things that they did, or whatever, whatever I guess religion they created or that was inspired from them. They're for the most part, I would assume you would agree that Buddha exists. I would assume you would agree that Muhammad exists.
Well, I assume Muhammad, yes, we do have contemporaries of Muhammad. We don't have any contemporaries of Buddha. And when I say Buddha, I mean, I'm sure you were talking about Siddhartha Gautama, right? And I always say his name wrong, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
We actually don't have contemporaries of him or Lao Tzu. We just have the writings after him. I mean, he claimed to be the prince of a king. We ain't got shit that shows that he was a prince of a king. So we just have the writings that came after him. So we can't conclusively say that he actually existed.
Yeah, well, that goes into, different religions and the offshoots of what God is or what God means to different people. I would just, for me, my focus is simply on, is God legit? Is he real? And if I was to go off and do the research that you've done, which I've done to an extent, but not to that extent. You went on a world tour. I mean, I can only imagine being in your head, like just going through every single piece of scripture, whether it's the Quran, whether it's Buddhist texts and Christians, everything, way above and beyond what any average Christian has done. Probably even some most scholars, I would assume. But does you coming to the conclusion that therefore God doesn't exist because none of these texts is sufficient enough evidence and proof, as you said, is enough for me, therefore God just doesn't exist? Or I know people say Jesus, so Jesus doesn't exist, since that's the topic of the conversation. And I would say that's your
somewhat, but for the most part, I mean, there's just so is there a door open to prove that a God exists? Sure. I always leave that door open because it's an unknown quantity. I'm more apt to say no, that one doesn't exist, because what we know in science, we don't require a intelligence for life to be created or for life to exist. Let me not say created because that throws people off. For life to exist. But when it comes to people like Jesus, I conclusively can say that Jesus never actually physically existed.
So does him not existing to you in your mind therefore concludes that God doesn't exist? Or is that two totally different thought processes?
Well,
or one doesn't exclude the other.
So it's both. And here's why. Without Jesus, and of course, on tomorrow's Friday. So on Monday, I'll probably talk about the Old Testament. So without Jesus and without the Old Testament, the God of the Bible does not exist. Period. That God don't exist. Does that slam the door on all gods? No. On the idea of a God, it doesn't slam the door on that, but it definitely slams the door on the Abrahamic God. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know how a intelligent creator, designer of the universe would be able to demonstrate itself so that I accept that that's what you are. Like, if you just beam down here, my first thought is you what alien ship you came from, and I want to go with you. That's my first thought. You ain't proven to me that you are the creator of all things. So you caused the singularity to expand, and here we are with all this life. No. Is that a possibility that some intelligent designer exists? It's a possibility, but most of the information that we have today leans towards not necessarily. It's not needed. It's not required. And if it's not required, then I have no reason to believe that one exists.
That is, to me, that's not too dissimilar from when I have conversations with what I call Christians. They're very dogmatically pro-Bible, and everything in the Bible is true. You're dogmatically that everything in the Bible is not true.
No, I do my thing where I say that 99% of the stuff in the Bible is not true. They got about 1% of truth in there.
Which is the same argument that a dogmatic Christian would make. Well,
no, it depends on what we're
99%.
talking. And actually, let me put it in the context of it depends on what we're talking about. Let's say we're talking about historical stuff.
Well,
about 1% of historical stuff in the Bible is true. And that's not being dogmatic. That's just, it is what it is. The only proof that we have is proof like cities existed. We have proof that certain people existed. That's about it. As far as these miracles and God stuff happening, we have zero proof of any of those things. Now, when it comes to moral things, the Bible, even though we usually talk about all the jacked up morality that's in the Bible, it has a few good things in it. But those few good things you can find anywhere and everywhere. Before the Bible even came into existence, before there ever was an Israelite, there were moral laws of don't steal, don't kill, those kind of laws. Those have been in place ever since humans decided to civilize themselves and live together.
They have been in place ever since. I wonder why that is. I guess it just magically was just instinctual for us to just don't steal, don't kill.
Well, it's a natural outgrowth. If let's say
natural outgrowth.
Yeah. Okay. Think about it like this. If you take Joseph, you put Joseph out in the middle of nowhere by himself, just living off the land, you don't have to worry or you don't concern yourself with the ideas of stealing and killing, and because those things are non-existent to you because Joseph is living out there by himself. Right. And even if Joseph is out there with a woman and y'all got you got some kids, it's still pretty much the same thing. You ain't got to really worry about it. But as soon as Joseph and let's see, let me pick somebody, Cosmic Pock or Dalius decide that we're going to live in the same community as Joseph and his family, that's when you have to start saying, well, first we sharing everything. But when you get enough people, now you got to start developing laws and rules and morals where you have to say that, if it's beyond the capacity, if the land is beyond the capacity and people are storing up stuff and you starting to barter and all that, now we starting to get into, well, let's not steal from one another because we're not going to be able to live because every time somebody steals or does something, we fighting and we killing people. So you have to start developing morals and laws then. You see what I'm saying? So that brings up, so it's the development of humans living together that create morals and laws.
So you're saying the only reason why these moral laws exist essentially is because of self-interest. Oh, if I steal, then, if I kill, then it's not going to benefit me to kill this person. It's not going to benefit me to steal from it. It's not based on the well-being or the care. And
now it is based on the well-being of the group. It is not based on the self-interest. Self-interest does have its part to play in it, but it's overwhelmingly majority. We are doing this in order to maintain this agreement to live together for the benefit of the whole. Like, we're not going to be able to live together if we are killing and stealing from one another. So in order for us to do this, in order to maintain a healthy group, we have to have some type of rules and morals.
Well, I would use this example, and to me, it's an obvious example. someone who can't hunt, who perhaps lost their foot in the saber-toothed tiger fight or whatever, what motivation would I have knowing, oh, this person got a lost foot? I got to bring him back to camp. But why would I do that? At this point, it's not, he doesn't do me any good or the group any good. If not just me, the rest of the group, he's going to be a liability. He's going to be a cripple. He's someone I have to now take care of.
Yeah. And there were societies that did that.
And there is absolutely.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that based on if it's not self motivated and if it's not group motivated, because it's not going to, that person is not going to motivate the group, or not motivate, but be a benefit to the group in terms of anything related to sustaining the group. They're going to be someone the group has to take care of. What incentive outside of these natural, you said it's natural things that just come up humans, and it's based off not just self-interest, but also the group. Now that we established that it's not someone with a chopped off foot can no longer be of interest to the individual, nor an interest to the group in terms of any economic value or whatever value. What then would be the purpose of me saving that individual with the cut off foot from the saber-toothed tiger and bringing him back to camp, knowing I'm going to have to feed him out of my share of the what would be the motivation?
Yeah,
it was just a natural thing.
Here's the thing, and you have just demonstrated why morality and laws are subjective and not objective, because there have been civilizations that had that viewpoint, and other civilizations thought that that viewpoint was terrible. There are civilizations that view old people as a burden, whereas you have civilizations like Japan where they view old people as honorary, that they should be taken care of. So that's why morality is subjective. Laws are subjective, and they change over, between different groups, and they change because of contact. They change just because of time. So the benefit, it depends on what group you're talking about, because some groups would have like, he got bit by the tiger, won't leave his ass in the jungle, let him survive on his own. Other groups would have been like, nah, that ain't how we treat our people. We're gonna carry him back. He can find something. He can grind. He may not have a leg, but he can grind meal. We'll find something else for him to do. Different societies have done different things when it comes to that. Like, society is not a monolith where everybody did the same thing, because it's all subjective. Just like these rules in the Bible, these ideas, these morals in the Bible, they're all subjective. There's just a few of them that the overwhelming majority of societies agree upon, because you got to in order to have society. Like, you got to have no murder and you got to have no stealing for any society to survive. Those are going to be the closest thing to objective. But there are some societies that don't even see it that way. They like one for all and all for one. Well, I mean, not one for all, all for one and fuck the all.
Oh.
So we've seen that.
Okay, well, so morality is all subjective. We make it the best we go. Slavery is subjective. Rape is subjective.
Yep.
It's all based on, the culture at the time or the times of the time. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. And if you take that take, then nothing really actually, what's the point of having even, I don't see the point of even having a moral. If I can just do anything I want, there's no consequence, because I can just make up my own law, right? I can just go out and do as I please.
No. See, people try that consequences. People try that one all the time. Go back to the first part of what I was saying. In order for a society to live together, there has to be some types of rules and laws that does have consequences. You cannot live in any society where there are no consequences to your actions. Every society. Now, if you go out and there's some islands that are uninhabited, you go live on that island by yourself, you can do whatever you want. Oh, them people that live on the Marshall Islands, North Sentinel Islands, they have their rules within their group, but if their all rules also say if anybody visit us, we're gonna kill their ass. That's their morals. That's their society. It benefits them. It don't benefit you. if Joseph try to go there and tell them about his God, they're gonna kill you. But so it wouldn't benefit you, but they have their own rules. We don't know what they are because everybody get killed every time they go there. And now that they're a protected society, no one can go there and force them into anything. But so that whole idea that, oh, everybody, you can just run around, make up your own rules, do what you want to do. Not within a society, you cannot, because that society is going to have rules.
It's interesting, Lorenzo, because, and I know you're going to find a way, you're so intelligent. You're going to find a way to, like, a contingency in this. But maybe you won't. You said yourself, you was questioning with the, she sounded like she was a Black older lady. She was raising some interesting points. She said, and you agree with her, that if I have free choice and free will, right, and I choose to, let's say, extreme example, I choose to murder, right, but it's my choice. Why then would I go to hell for something I chose to do? But isn't that coercion? Shouldn't I just go to heaven regardless of what I did? But you just said, here in the natural world, the material world, and us being human beings, that you cannot live in a society that's not having any consequences to your actions. So I don't understand why it would be acceptable for a society on a material plane to have consequences to our actions, to which I agree. But yet there should be no consequences if there is to be a, say, spiritual plane and an afterlife where you go where you want to go, essentially, because based on the choices that you make. How is that not, how are they not the same? How are they even different?
Now I get what you're saying, and you're gonna find this interesting because I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree with something, but not in the way that you think. Well, it might be in the way that you think.
No, I'm listening. I don't want to think anything.
If there is some type of afterlife after this, and it is created by you, because you just said that you go to a place that you want to go to, then that means you're creating it. You decided what that afterlife is, not some God, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what I said.
So then there's nothing wrong with whatever you create. Now, because of the complexity of the human psyche, because you know you probably gonna create some fuckery for you. And this is why I say most Christians are gonna go to a hell. If there is an afterlife, most Christians are gonna go to a hell because they think they deserve hell, right? Their mind, their subconscious is telling them that they're unworthy. They've been taught their whole life, you're unworthy, you're filthy rag. They most likely will create a hell. My contention on the free will part is, if the afterlife, regardless of what you believe or how you lived your life, it is all predicated on the Bible God, that's not free will. That's coercion. That's a ultimatum. So if this is my thought, this is my speculation, if my consciousness stays together and after this life there is a spiritual plane and I hit it and there is no God and I create whatever that life is,
a place with no God,
then I would be one creating it and it will be whatever I want it to be. There's going to be a lot of ice cream and it's going to be fun. But if it's predicated on some God, it's not. Now, the Hermetic viewpoint is that there are multiple spiritual planes above the physical plane. And depending upon how well you develop your consciousness, this is also in Buddhism and Taoism, depending upon how well you develop your consciousness, which will be displayed on earth based on how you treat yourself, the world, and people, then you will rise to a certain level of consciousness that is equipped for your level. So meaning that if you were a good person, you weren't murdering people, you was trying to take care of the earth, trying to take care of yourself, had consideration for and empathy for other people, then you are operating at such a high consciousness that you're gonna go to level 8. Where a dogmatic religious person, they gonna go to level 2 of the conscious plane.
Go on.
Now, that's just speculative shit because we ain't got no proof of it. But that's what
come on.
It is, but that's kind of what
on it.
Now that's what Buddha teaches, that's what the Tao teaches, and that's what Hermeticism teaches, and alchemy. They all teach that kind of a thing. But
does that not make more does that not make much more logical sense logically compared to how the Bible depicts how a God sent you to a place if you make these choices versus it makes sense if you're doing these things, you're creating this, regardless if you believe in God or not, because you can be a crazy Christian and think but hell is so real to you, you end up going there. Or you can be an atheist like yourself and have no belief in God, but because of how you treat others, because of the way you live your life, in a way that, let's say you don't believe in God, but God sees that he doesn't believe in me, but he's doing the things that someone who would believe in God would do. You would be more likely going to this different level than someone. So in other words, perhaps a Christian who supposes that you will go to a place that you deserve, they would actually go into a place that they deserve, and you would be going to a place that you don't even know yet or even believe is possible. But because of how you live your life, your actions speak louder than words.
I would say that is a more comforting thought than a logical thought. A logical thought would be like what somebody was talking about earlier when they mentioned Occam's razor. From what we can identify, from what we can observe, I should say, when someone dies, their body, their energy just scatters into the ground, the atmosphere, just into their, your energy just scatters. Over time, it dissipates and becomes other parts of other things. The only thing that we don't really know is the conscious energy, which like your brain waves, your consciousness. We don't even fully understand the consciousness. We don't even know where all it comes from yet. So the question that scientists who study the consciousness is asking is, after death, what happens to the energy that is your consciousness? And no one knows, because we cannot really, we have to first identify the consciousness to be able to study it and observe it, to know where it goes or what happens to it. So until we can do that, it's all speculation. But so logically, it just dissipates. You ever see that movie Powder?
No, I saw the movie Ghost though.
Powder is what I'm talking about, and kind of what you're talking about is exemplified in this movie Powder. When he finally died, he's like this kid who, I don't know, his mother was struck by lightning when she was pregnant, and he is working at a different conscious energy level.
I did see this. Yeah.
Okay, you did see it? So
it's been a long time, but yeah.
When he died, what happened? His consciousness just spread all over the world. Right? And everybody felt him. You remember that part?
That's the old movie. I remember his face, and I have to rewatch it again.
You could probably find the clip on YouTube where he's getting struck by all this lightning and shit. He finally raises up, and then his body and his consciousness just expands out in this big ring. And then everybody who's still alive, like the woman who was caretaking for him, she's all like, "Oh, I can feel him. I can feel him." And I love that actress, by the way. That's one of my favorite actresses. And she was like, oh, I can feel it. And everybody's like, I can feel it. His consciousness just became a part of the ether and everybody else, and, so on and so forth. That could be it. We just don't have any proof of it. That's all. And that would be my hope. My hope would be that my consciousness stays together and becomes something, go into some other plane. My only question is, where was my consciousness beforehand? Because was it just bits and pieces of all my ancestors? And that's my consciousness now? But if it's bits and pieces, then that means that when they died, their consciousness, they lost some of their consciousness. You see, that's a dilemma. So
I think I have an answer.
Occam's razor, it just all dissipates.
I mean, your consciousness, before conception, right? There's something that takes place. Even a woman would say, I can feel. It can start off as a seed or whatever is germinating, and then they can feel something enter their body or in that little body, in their body. We would never understand that, but there are quite a few women who document that. I just knew when I became pregnant, before the pregnancy test, like they just feel it. So it's something, you come from somewhere, this consciousness out there, to go in there in that womb for women who are sensitive enough to feel it without the test and all these other technologies. You would imagine before that existed, they had to kind of feel it out more. They had to rely more on their senses and their internal state versus the external, which is a lot of the sciences that we rely on so heavily. So you come from that space. I mean, I don't want to get too, I could, but it's not the time and place for it. But I would say, when you said, does Jesus exist? Some of this information, not all of it, but a lot of it, my understanding, because of the questions you asked, and I could not let him, I just couldn't let him go. It wasn't sufficient. The Bible wasn't sufficient enough for me for the questions that you posed that I wanted answers to. So I just simply asked the question directly to the source. And you say, well, that's an experience, but I can't help. This is just what happened.
Yeah.
Experience. Hey,
That's just that's just an experience. I've had those experiences.
Well,
So-
I'm just, it's not nothing crazy, not a long story. It's not a story at all.
No
Just say
stories,
that
man. No,
No, I'm saying,
experiential stories, especially
just
when
saying
we got
I prayed
15
about
minutes
it.
left. 15, 20 minutes left.
All I'm saying is that I prayed about it, and then I was led in a direction to a person who claims to be him and who I thought was full of shit. But yet, in listening to the things he talks about, a lot of the stuff that you let's say disagree strongly with Christians about, or not just Christians, but other religions too. It just so happens to be Christians kind of like the focus. He disagrees with, right? A lot of things that Christians believe about God in it or about him, he says that ain't it. And it just makes sense. Now, this person who claims to be who he say he is, as Jesus, for me, that was less important than what he was teaching. What is it? Is it confirming the things that's in scripture that I already know and sense to be off? Things that we sense to be off. The things that talks about homosexuality, for example, how they treat women in the Bible, for example.
Joseph, I'm gonna have to stop you, Joseph. We can't. These are stories of experience, man. I prayed when I was younger that God would lead me to the people and places that would affirm my belief, and everything that I got led to took me away from it. So experiences don't mean shit. I ain't trying to me. And when it comes to evidence, it means something to you, and that's great. But it doesn't prove Jesus, and that's what we're talking about. But let me let some other people get up here too. Because I got about 20 minutes.
I kind of figured that.
Yeah,
I kind of figured it wasn't. It's unfortunate because I think you would have found them very interesting. But also,
it may be interesting, but it's not going to be evidence.
It would have been confronting about things that you believe that you would have been like, F this guy. That ain't.
That's not.
It would make you angrier because of pride and ego. But that's all I'll say.
All right. Appreciate you, man. That was a good conversation, though. I do thoroughly enjoy talking to Joseph. So, don't anybody take it as I don't enjoy talking to Joseph. I thoroughly enjoy talking to Joseph. Let me thank Dallas Brown for his $5 super chat. And Dallas said, and I know he said this a long time ago, but I don't want to interrupt people during it for the super chat. Why didn't Jesus ever heal someone who was innocent that got decapitated or executed, especially? They should have written something like that into the story. Like Jesus was like, "Oh, I got to bear this burden," but according to one version, there was one version doesn't say the people up on the cross were thieves. The only one version say they were thieves. He could have took the thieves down, which actually coincidentally is a story that Josephus told in his writings about him going to Titus after seeing 3 of his friends up on crosses, and then Titus giving him permission to go back and take them all down. And 2 of them were dead, but one of them was still alive. And so Josephus was able to do that. And somehow that similarity creeps into your biblical story. But yeah, if Jesus was, better than Jesus, Dallas, from the moment of Jesus all the way up to today, why doesn't this God show Christians who's supposed to be able to do bigger, wonderful, more magical things than Jesus, because that's what the Bible says, why they ain't in the hospitals growing legs and arms back? Why they ain't in there doing that? That's what I want to see. I want to see some Christians in the cancer ward and somebody walk in, just found out they got cancer. They crying, they found out they got cancer. And a Christian walks up and and heals them of the cancer before any drugs. When my friend Karen had cancer, somebody just walked in the house and bam, she was healed from pancreatic cancer. When we gonna get, if they've been doing that and consistently do that, bam, you got converts. You got me. I'm a Jesus boy all the way. I'm Jesus till the Holy Ghost come in, Jesus. But yet none of that has ever been documented and has ever happened. Never, ever. I gotta hit my boy real quick. We're gonna be quick today, IG, because I got other people.
I already know. I just want to speak to the subject. What's happening?
Well,
by the way,
wait,
quick. I want to speak to the subject.
I got a whole. When I got off yesterday, going back into the house, I had a whole speech about you.
Oh, really?
And I'm glad you came up today.
Really? Yes. I wanted to ask you too. Could I tag you into your content? Could I use your content and of course, clip it and respond and react to it, because it was a good conversation. I went back and listened to it.
Knock yourself out. Go ahead and put it in there. Go ahead and do the thing.
Okay. So you're gonna be getting tagged in that. Go ahead.
Here's my speech that I was thinking about when I was walking back to the house.
Go ahead. Let me mute myself.
Now I want everybody to understand this, and this is how we should be in society. And I'm glad you came up today. If you'd have waited like 4 or 5 days or next week, I'd have been pissed because it would have messed up my speech. We all should be like this in society, where we can have conversations and we can agree, and then we come to a moment where we disagree. And then that disagreement tears down everything we've built over the years because of one fucking disagreement. Me and IG disagreed passionately yesterday. It was passionate. Let me make him big for the YouTube people and Facebook people can see his smiling ass. We disagreed passionately yesterday. I thought about that shit for a while, especially because I had previously had a conversation the night before. But here is IG back on the scene.
It's my boy.
Smiling. We still cool. I ain't got no malice towards him because we disagree passionately on a subject that we both hold passionately.
Yes, okay.
If we can still commune together, talk together, and in some areas, we know there's an area now that we ain't gonna work together, but there's some areas we can work together.
Right.
Because we don't let one little fucking disagreement destroy what could be and was building into a relationship. And that's one of the reasons I have problems with religion, because y'all will let one disagreement destroy the opportunity to build a better fucking world and have better relationships with people because you got one disagreement. Go ahead, bro. What you got for me?
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? So speaking to the subject, well, just on that subject, I told some of my friends, I said, no, man. I said, he gives me a lot of respect. We have had good conversation back and forth. He lets me talk longer than he let a lot of other people talk. And
not today.
Not today. But I just be like, look, I said, it's a strong, I'm okay. This is how I have my relationships and my friendships. I'm a person that accepts people off of contrast. There's really no true coexistence, y'all, if you're only looking to connect with people and how they're similar to you. There really isn't any compromise there if you only have to see someone through your eyes in order for you to accept them. See that person for who the fuck they are. The differences, the contrast will tell you if you are a person who can coexist. Now, to speak to the subject, the eyewitness part, I think of course, I don't think that any of these subjects or any of the topics will be proven yes. I think, however, it's the shift of the perspective, because that no eyewitness part, I think they ignore that I part, and they say that, well, wait a minute, we have witnesses and historical history of people who say they serve Jesus. And I think that's what keeps them rooted in.
Mhm.
They get into the living witnesses that we can actually trace. Hear what I'm saying? I'm not saying that the actual Sky Daddy son is alive. However, the ideal and witnesses that have been proven on record for centuries, I think that's what the people who believe in Jesus existing is, the existence of the concept. And I think for me, I try to gauge, this is just my method, or I try to say to most people, yes, I'm an atheist and God is real to me. I'm going to show you why. And it's not because I'm trying to get them, I'm agreeing with them that the ideal of deityism. No. However, the very cause and effect of good and bad behaviors throughout humanity, when it comes to that eyewitness, they pick and choose to see no, you're a witness. I can see you. I can see thousands of hundreds of people, millions of people who profess Jesus. And therefore, in their minds, that it's a
You're breaking up.
witness.
Go ahead.
My bad. I said no, but that's a witness. That's a witness. So I don't
Right. So you're
think
saying,
that it's.
yeah, like,
I'm saying that's how they're saying it. I'm not saying this makes it real in the sense of the concept of him being the Son of God. But yes, that no eyewitness to them, they don't see that as that way. They logically put that together, even though they don't realize they're doing it. They don't do how I'm articulating it. They're not thinking about it like that. But that is, in fact, the thing that allows them to say, well, there is a witness. We are witnesses. There's history around the time apart. We can prove that people said that they served Jesus with the church and the first century church and so on. That's what they're using as to say is the witness. So I disagree about it all being real, but I'm at the point where, well, hold on. Let me show you how institutionally why it's real versus then to try to combat with them the fallacy of it. No, the cause and effect of why the world is the way that it is because that part of it is real, not the Sky Daddy.
I understand what you're saying. And
yeah,
that basically is the whole eyewitness account for the believers, is that they're just trusting in that these people serve with Jesus and serve with the apostles, that the apostles serve with Jesus, and that these people learn from the apostles, and then those people told the next people, and so on and so forth. And so, yay, we have eyewitness accounts.
Yep.
The disconnect comes when you can't prove that you can't prove. So if you're going back, when you get to the earliest person, which would be Polycarp, Polycarp never claimed that he served under John, but Irenaeus says that, oh, I learned from Polycarp and Polycarp learned from John. And people accepted what Irenaeus said. And that created their connection to Jesus, because as they say, Jesus served, he knew Jesus. But you got Polycarp never said that, and Polycarp never demonstrated it. It's just that his lifetime aligns with it. And so it's just a claim. And that's all it can ever be. That's why there's no true evidence of an eyewitness. But people are, like you said, people are taking that telephone game, never validating whether or not the first witness actually was a witness.
Right. But they do validate of what it means and how it actualizes. That.
And then especially in today's world, they'll be like, oh, I was an eyewitness to healings at my church, so I know Jesus is real. You ain't witness shit.
Exactly.
You witness some emotion. You ain't got no data to back that up.
Well, no, I have data, and I'll talk to you later. Yeah, I have data. We got, all of the missionaries and everything around the world. See, that's my data. It always falls into picking and choosing when to take things literally and figuratively. I'll holler at you later.
I'll at you later. We at the end of the show, so I got to go quick. And IG can go for like 30, 40 minutes. We ain't got 30, 40 minutes. We at best got about 10 minutes before my bride get home. And she is more important than all of y'all. Maurice. We in the speed time. Maurice. We're in the speed zone now. We going quick now. We're in that last 10 minutes. Maurice ain't say nothing, so I guess. And you know what? If y'all ever, what's his name on Deconstruction Zone? Shit, he got this video where this woman came on there and she was a black woman, and she was doing the whole, I've seen people get healed from HIV, from AIDS, and I've seen people get healed from that. And they were like, where's the data? Where's the proof? And the dude, she was saying the dude was taking the drugs, and now he's non-detectable. That's what the fucking drugs do. And she was still like, I've witnessed it, I've seen it. And it was so damn hairy. So I don't know how you will find it, but if you look up old boy, you might find it. Low.
What's up,
I know you over 21. What is that?
I didn't think you was gonna call me.
You know, I've tried to keep conversations down to like 10, 20 minutes, but you know, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, no, I'm always.
Hard thing to do. I got about 9 minutes. What you got?
Okay, I kind of wanted to get on that conversation you was having earlier about the Luke and Matthew, and one thing in my deconstruction that I've come to realize is that the entire concept that the Gospels are supposed to line up with each other is something that developed. You know, it's not actually in the text itself.
Yeah.
None of the Gospels talk about the other Gospels as being pointing to the other Gospels saying, you know, this is the word of God or that's the word of God.
Yep.
You know, like in the Old Testament, you have the Kings and Chronicles talk about these other books.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of the Kings and the Book of Chronicles, or in the Book of Jasher, all that stuff.
And it's funny how like Kings and Samuels and Chronicles, you can find where they contradict each other. But they both, and see, I wanted to go in that conversation with that young man, but we had already been talking for about 40 minutes because that was at the end. Because the thing about it is, there is no univocality within the Bible. It does not speak all at once. And I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek. I'm gonna give y'all a little sneak peek. I'm working on a video where I'm going to show that even the Gospels and the letters, well, mainly the Gospels and then the writings of Paul, are really just different sects of Christianity teaching different messages, but then was forced together to try to become one cohesive story.
I would mostly agree with that. You know, this is my new theory. I don't know if it's my same theory. The way I look at the Gospels now is that just like you had these people, you ever had these kids come to your house and try to get you to change your gas provider?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I knew I dated a female that did that, and so they get trained. You know how to do that. They have a script that they go by. But then when they go to try to make the deal, they could go off script and add their own stuff on top of it to get people to change.
Right.
So I think with the Gospels there was a core story, but it depends on who they were talking to. They told different stories. That's why you got Matthew when he's writing. He got Jesus appearing to them outside of Jerusalem, while Luke, everything stays in Jerusalem.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's like whoever they're talking to, they don't want to offend the people, certain people. They might want to appeal to certain things, but certain people. But that's why you got these differences in the stories. Even with the lineage, the difference between Luke and Matthew. There's nothing in the story that says anything about a royal lineage.
this is different and all that. You know, and the living right, marriage, you know,
Yeah.
that's all started because we got this concept that they were supposed to be writing congruently together, and they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
They're writing different stories to different people.
But that's why I say that they're right. Yeah. See, the consensus is that they are writing to different audiences, and most Christians are willing to accept that. The extra step that I'm taking is that not only were they different audiences, these were different types of Christianity in late first century, early second century that these people were writing to and trying to convince them of this new story of a previous religion that they are now adding their own spin to, just like Joseph Smith did with Mormonism. Because Matthew also, see, the other problem with Matthew demonstrates in multiple areas that he didn't know Hebrew. And he was most likely a either Hellenistic Jew or just a Gentile, period, and was writing trying to convince Jews to convert over to this new form of Judaism that was based off of a previous religion of worshiping of Christus. And so he wasn't even trying to be relatable to Mark and Luke and John. He just used parts of, and he just used parts of Mark. He used Mark to create his story. And then the most offensive one is John. John don't give a shit about none of them other gospels. John is writing what he want to write.
I think John was writing with some of those gospels in mind. I think he was trying to clean up some stuff.
Oh, definitely trying to clean up stuff.
Yeah, he's trying to clean up some stuff. And then you have Luke. Luke says it that he felt like he was writing the perfect gospel, while these other gospels were basically had things out of order and were correct.
Luke got so much stuff wrong, and I'm of the thought that Luke is really just copying the Marcion gospel and not Luke doing his own thing.
The reason, because it seemed like I don't really understand why people think the Marcion gospel came from Luke. It seemed like it would be the other way around. Because when you look at the early church and what the early church says about it, it could be lying. But my understanding is that Marcion actually accepted Luke's gospel and Paul's writings and nothing else.
Well, it is. It's just, and it's not except. See, that's the little tweak right there. First, you got to understand, almost everything we have from about Marcion is the early church not liking him. So, of course, they're going to write negatively about him. The Marcion's gospel was not called the Gospel of Luke. It was called Marcion's gospel, right? It was never called Luke at that time frame because the books weren't named by this time frame. Remember, Marcion is putting this together in 144. It doesn't become known as Luke until 180 with Irenaeus.
Somebody name it. I mean, with Irenaeus.
Yeah, Irenaeus in 180.
But
he named.
It's another guy, Papias. No, Papias named Matthew.
No, Papias didn't name Matthew. Papias actually says that he rather take and believe the oral tradition than to accept any of the writings.
No, Papias talked about Matthew writing the sayings gospel. What else he said?
That's the Thomas gospel. That's the Thomas gospel. The Thomas gospel is the sayings.
It probably was originally the Matthew. That's the thing. A lot of people like myself, I no longer believe that the Matthew we have was the original Matthew. The original Matthew probably more like Thomas.
No, the Thomas starts out by saying these are the writings that's recorded by Thomas Didymus, whatever Thomas, Didymus Julius Thomas. It starts out. It's one of the few out of the Bible things that say who is the person writing this.
Right. So, what Papias said that there was a sayings gospel written by Matthew in a certain tongue and or somebody said Papias said it. And so
I think somebody said Papias said it because Papias was like Polycarp and was like, I don't trust none of these writings. I'd rather have the oral tradition.
I don't know about that.
No, look it up. Actually, I just researched that like last week.
I looked into that. It was like Papias had a different rendition on what happened with Judas. It's like 3 or 4 different traditions about what happened to Judas. You count the Gospels and Acts, and then he said Judas swelled up and got so fat and basically got ran over by a horse or something like that. It was something weird that he blew up and stuff. Some weird stuff like that. So it's like they got all these. It shows that these gospels were not all thought of as being true. All of them going
Okay.
along with each other.
Let me give you the
They
answer.
had gospels they preferred over other gospels.
Let me give you the answer to your Papias question. Because I tell you, I just looked this up, so it was still in my scroll when I was researching this last week. Papias is quoted by Eusebius of Caesarea of saying, now Eusebius has already known that he said that he will lie to further the gospel and further the church. So
somebody said that's not true. That's
well, somebody can say it all they want to, but Eusebius says that Papias said Matthew collected a sayings gospel in Hebrew language, and each one interpreted them as best he could. So it's Eusebius saying that Papias said that. 300 years, 200 years, 200 plus years later.
Yeah. So that makes me think that the original sayings gospel may have been what Matthew wrote, turned it to Thomas, and this other gospel that we got right now, that's Matthew's gospel. Some people must have made a mistake and attributed that to Matthew.
Well,
now we think it's Matthew's gospel.
Well, that's only if you believe Eusebius. So in Eusebius's work, Eusebius wrote this. Nobody wrote this for Eusebius. In book 12, chapter 31 of Eusebius writing, because this is right on the same line where I was researching Papias.
Right.
Eusebius said in that chapter 12, book 12, chapter 31, that this is his quote, that it is necessary sometimes to use falsehoods as a remedy for the benefit of those who require such a mode of treatment. And he was referring to lawmakers and religion. So this
that's bad, but I don't think that's something that you would make up, that type of detail where you say, well, it was a sayings gospel and people tried to, you know what I'm saying? I can't just throw away everything Eusebius said just off of that.
But I want you to think about Eusebius' political position at this time frame, right? So we're talking about this time frame when in the 4th century, when he was Constantine's scribe. He then, after Constantine reestablished the Roman, reconnected the Roman Empire, he became Constantine's mother. He befriended her. She was converted over to Christianity. Christianity became legal. Constantine has now given his mother the whole Roman treasury of the Byzantine of Constantinople, which was the richest part of the Roman Empire, to go down and start building temples for Jesus, right? And Eusebius is with her chronicling all these things. So Eusebius converts over to Christianity as well. And now, politically connected to the emperor through his mama, Eusebius starts promoting all this Christianity stuff. Yet he says that falsehoods are a remedy. So when it comes to this type of stuff, I take Eusebius with a grain of salt because of his political position within the empire.
Yeah, I can understand that, but like when I read the whole verse, when I actually read through it, I think for the most part he's being faithful, like, because the stuff he says is seems like he's actually searching for truth. Like even though why they accept certain things, why he would say, well, this was accepted, but the spirit is also.
They weren't. Yeah, but he wasn't searching for truth. Him and Helena went down to Jerusalem. They went to Calvary, And some people said, oh yeah, that's Mount Calvary right there. And that's where Jesus, where crucifixions happen. And so she was like, well, that's enough information for me. This is where he was crucified, this spot. And they found 3 holes. And they said, these are the 3 spots. And then she went to the pool of Bethesda and said, a pool that they said was Bethesda, the Asclepian pool. And she was like, well, this is the pool. This is where healing was happening. We just gonna build shit. Yeah, but they ain't doing no research. You know what her research is on the true cross? Some people, she had 3 crosses, and some people came up, and this woman came up, she touched each one, and then one of them healed her of her issue, and then she declared that's the true cross. That's not research. It didn't happen. That motherfucker just made up a story, and because she's the emperor's mother, you don't think, you know what? Think about it, how we do things today. But because she's the emperor's mother, people just accepted it. Just like if the press secretary comes out and say some shit about Trump right now, MAGA people just believe it. You can go and they won't research it. They just accept it. Now think about a time frame where if you didn't accept it, imagine if Trump could just show up at your house and shoot you if you didn't accept it. That was the life back then. So if Helena came back and said, yeah, I found the true cross and I found this and I found that, ain't nobody gonna challenge that. And there are more pieces of the true cross that you could build a forest. Like that's the literal thing. Like that's a literal thing. There are more artifacts that are claiming to be the true cross that you could literally build a forest.
There's a lot of money in that stuff. So
oh hell yeah. So I ain't trusting when it comes to the religious part, I ain't trusting Eusebius. He was the press secretary, man. He's Trump or any other president's press secretary.
But I look at his reasoning and it appears like he did a lot of actual research.
Man, okay.
Church leaders. So
what church leaders? He read some of their old stuff, but he also, I think it is most likely that he wrote in that part in Josephus's work, that he added to Josephus's work, that he added to Tacitus' work, he changed Tacitus' work, he added to Papias' work. That man didn't have no scruples.
I don't know, man. I gotta check that out. I don't know about it. I know somebody added to Josephus, but I still believe Josephus was referring to Jesus Christ. Talking about his brother, there's another way. Then you got John the Baptist. Talking about John the Baptist, and and Bart Ehrman talks about stuff like this too, where in the negative, like why would you have a religious believer that you basically has to be a disciple of God first? You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that to me, it made me think, well, I believe Jesus was real. I still believe that was real. I believe that those are positive attestations to the actual existence.
Well, I got problems with Bart Ehrman. I got 2 problems with Bart Ehrman. My first problem with him is he's pimped out by his job. And I can understand that if you are over the religious department of the University of North Carolina, there are certain things that you have to abide by. If he can't come out and just say Jesus never existed. He can talk all this other shit, but he can't say that. The other thing about Bart Ehrman is that when I watched this debate that he was having, and when he said his belief in a historical Jesus is based on Paul, but there's no proof that Paul existed beyond those letters, that's not evidence. You got to have more than just, because Paul wrote about Jesus and talked about Jesus, I believe Jesus existed, but you can't prove Paul existed. You see what I'm saying?
So his connection is actually James, the brother.
I ain't never heard him say that one. I heard him say Paul.
Yeah, so that's what I've heard it. He had to say that. So even with Paul.
Okay, that wouldn't work then. I mean to stop you. Hold on. I mean to stop you because in Josephus's works where he talked about James, the brother of Jesus, James and their father is Damnius. So that can't be the same Jesus.
I mean, what was okay? I got remember.
Antiquities
Yeah.
20. To help you out, Antiquities
I read
20.
the whole thing.
I know.
times.
I'm just saying, I ain't saying you got to start from scratch. Just go to Antiquities 20. Book
Yeah, I'm
20.
gonna look at that later. But
Yeah, book 20, chapter 9.
This is James being a brother Jesus, and Paul saying that. Paul talking about the brother James. So that's his really his basis more so. So Cephas mentions James, who was a brother of Jesus, and then Paul mentions Jesus, the Lord's brother, being James. So that's where it comes out to. I think that's why he know Paul
Man,
was real.
That's like being in America right now and saying that I know this dude named John who has a brother named David. How many Johns do you think there exist in America who got a brother named David?
I get what you're saying, but I mean, you got a religious mix up a man that had a brother named James.
You got two popular names of the time. Those are two very popular names of that era, man. Come on now.
This whole thing popped out of nowhere, man.
It didn't pop out of nowhere. It was bred out of previous religions, like every other religion that has come about. Just like Joseph Smith was like, oh, we based on Christianity, but I found these golden plates. And these other people saw it. And then other people like, yeah, I saw it, even though they later recanted and be like, nah, I ain't see shit. So
Smith was real, right?
he was real, but them damn plates weren't. And the people recanted who said that they saw them plates.
The person that real, everything else would be like even with Jesus. All the stuff they said about could be exaggerations and all that.
Yeah, but at least we got an identification of the one person named Joseph Smith. We ain't got nothing that shows a Jesus, a biblical Jesus existed. But man, look, I gotta go. My wife decided to pull up to the garage, so I ain't gotta walk to the house.
Yeah, I got you. Fix it.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
All right, everybody. I appreciate y'all. So I will see you guys again on Monday. Well, yeah, Monday. I'll see you guys again on Monday at between 2 and 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. I mean, Central Standard Time. We're going to jump back to the Old Testament on Monday. So I look forward to that conversation. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the memberships. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing and sharing. So y'all have a great day, and always remember you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations, and we are out at 500 when I close both of them out. I need to